Chapter 1089. The two waves of attacks were closely connected without any gap. Like a goshawk, Tai Ching-sung kept falling and swooping down. Then, he would be knocked back up, fall again, and launch another attack. After 5 or 6 times in a row, Yang Ping had staggered back hundreds of feet. He could feel that his opponent was rising and falling. Although his feet never touched the ground, and it was difficult for him to borrow strength, his mystical chi attacks were getting stronger and stronger, and the pressure from his palms was getting heavier. Gradually, Yang Ping had a feeling that he could not hold on any longer. Tai Ching-sung fell again, and an even stronger and fiercer attack followed. Yang Ping not only had a profound cultivation base, but he also had rich combat experience. He knew that if this went on, his opponent would be able to borrow the force of the aftershock to fly back up. And if this went on for a long time, he would not be able to escape defeat. The moment he realized this, he gritted his teeth and gathered all the mystical chi in his body, then threw out a palm strike. With another explosion, Tai Ching-sung was knocked high into the air again, but Yang Ping had retreated 200 feet in an instant, then moved 100 feet to the left at top speed. With a clang, he finally held the second sword in his hand. The situation seemed to have changed again, but Tai Ching-sung, who was in midair, still chose to continue the attack. He suddenly spread his arms, turned around, and swooped down like a huge goshawk. At the same time, the sword in Yang Ping's hand flashed with a threatening light. Tai Ching-sung did not dodge, as if he had ignored the counterattack. He maintained his original momentum and kept bombarding with a pair of golden palms. Yang Ping roared and slashed out with his sword. Tai Ching-sung sneered and met the attack with one hand. In the arena, Hui Yinfeng took a deep breath and said, "The outcome is about to be decided. Both sides have prepared some moves for this attack, and they are using their lifetime cultivation base. It's a wonderful battle." Ding Byuk and Yu Buneng were also experts in cultivation, so they watched the battle intently and did not look as nervous as Hui Yinfeng. Although the battle in front of them was related to hundreds of top-grade spiritual jades, the two of them were already prepared to lose the bet at the beginning of the battle between the two sections. Now that the situation had changed and was developing in an unprecedentedly good direction, they were almost sure of the victory. They didn't care too much about the outcome of the battle. Instead, they cared more about the brilliance of the battle. No matter who won in the end, it wouldn't affect the brilliance of the battle. For a moment, the battlefield was filled with sword energy, and Tai Ching-sung's dazzling golden hands were waving freely as he approached Bufang like a bolt of lightning. As expected, the two of them once again engaged in the most extreme head-on collision. Yang Ping let out a furious roar. The already magnificent sword energy rose by 30% and pierced Tai Ching-sung's palm. However, Tai Ching-sung's expression did not change in the face of such a serious injury. Instead of retreating, his pierced hand moved forward and grabbed the sword, letting the golden blood flow everywhere. His other free hand, however, was like a mountain-splitting axe, smashing down violently with a crazy momentum. Yang Ping sneered. His left hand, which was not holding a sword, suddenly held a sword again and thrust it toward Tai Ching-sung's heart. It was fast, accurate, and ruthless. Not only does this man have a profound cultivation base, but his swordsmanship is also brilliant. He can even wield a sword with both hands at will. How can an ordinary man compare to him? Yang Ping's intention was simple and clear. "You can hit me with your palm, but the price is that I will kill you with my sword when you are hit." Tai Ching-sung's expression did not change, but he twisted his body abruptly and maintained the same momentum. His palm was still falling crazily, while Yang Ping's sword pierced through his right chest and back with great force. If Yang Ping had a moment's delay, Yang Ping could have injected a large amount of mystical energy into Tai Ching-sung's body and detonated it. With their cultivation bases being about the same, Tai Ching-sung would have been dead for sure. Unexpectedly, the moment Tai Ching-sung was hit by the sword, he twisted his body again and locked the sword with his muscles and bones. Then, just as the mystical energy on Yang Ping's sword was about to enter his body, his palm fell hard on Yang Ping's right shoulder. Kacha! The bones in Yang Ping's right shoulder were instantly shattered, and half of his chest was almost smashed as well. Tai Ching-sung's swords were locked, His shoulder was broken, and his mystical chi became even more chaotic. But Yang Ping was really amazing. Although he could no longer guide his mystical chi to detonate Tai Ching Song's body, he immediately let go of the sword with his left hand and punched the hilt. The sword regained its momentum, and the entire blade stabbed into Tai Ching Song's body until the hilt was gone. His fist, on the other hand, smashed into the wound on Tai Ching Song's chest without losing its momentum. A loud thud and a crack could be heard. Tai Ching Song's ribs were broken, which further injured him. However, Tai Ching Song did not retreat. Even though he was already seriously injured, he still took a step forward and slammed his head into Yang Ping's forehead. Yang Ping's skull cracked with a crack, causing him to cry out in pain. Then, he retaliated by slamming his knee into Tai Ching Song's lower abdomen. It was only then that the two of them separated, but they were still very close to each other, almost touching each other. At this moment, Tai Ching Song's pierced right hand was still tightly gripping Yang Ping's sword as he struck Yang Ping's neck with all his might. Almost at the same time, Yang Ping's left hand had turned into a knife and was aimed at Tai Ching Song's neck. Obviously, he wanted to kill Tai Ching Song with one blow. Tai Ching Song grabbed Yang Ping's hand with his left hand and hit Yang Ping's forehead with his head again. Blood splattered from their foreheads at the same time. Yang Ping screamed even louder as he quickly broke free from Tai Ching Song's grip with his left hand and grabbed Tai Ching Song's neck. But Tai Ching Song hit him again. Boom! Boom! The atmosphere of the battle between the two of them was so intense that it was unbearable to watch. Blood, flesh, and even bones flew out from time to time. Yang Ping's head had been smashed like a watermelon and was no longer whole. Blood gushed out from all over the place. Tai Ching Song's condition was not much better. There was almost no part of his body that was intact, and there was a hole in his right chest, but he still kept hitting Yang Ping's head. Bam! 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 Every time Tai Ching Song and Yang Ping collided, the hearts of all the spectators skipped a beat. Their mouths were dry, and they were terrified. A long time later, both of them fell down together, but they were still moving. Well, it should be said that they were wriggling, desperately trying to get up. Yang Ping kept moving, and after a few movements, he suddenly fell to the ground and stopped moving. Tai Ching Song was panting heavily and kept vomiting blood and pieces of internal organs, but he managed to prop himself up with his left hand. Looking at the motionless body in front of him, Tai Ching Song burst out laughing. After coughing out a mouthful of sticky blood, he said in a hoarse voice, "I've won." Before his voice could fade away, he fell to the ground and stopped breathing. Chapter 1090. As far as the result of the battle was concerned, both of them had died together. However, Yang Ping was the first to die, while Tai Ching Song announced his victory when he stood up for the last time and uttered his last words. Even if Tai Ching Song died in the end, it was still considered his victory. There was no doubt about this, and no one could question it. The faces of everyone in Thousand Mountains sect turned pale, and there was only despair in their eyes. Was Thousand Mountains sect going to lose its position just like that? 3 battles, 3 defeats. Not even the last piece of cloth was left. 2 hours ago we were still in 8th place. Now we are the 9th, the last of the lower-class celestial luck banners. Du Yongfan covered his chest with his hands. He felt a terrible pain in his chest, so much so that he wanted to die. However, although the faces of the people from Thousand Mountains sect were unsightly, they were not the most unsightly among those present, because the person with the most unsightly expression was the one who had stepped forward at this moment. 3rd match. Residents of 9 Supremes, wins. Hui Yinfeng's voice was mixed with a kind of disheartened dejection. The pain in his heart at this moment was like 10,000 arrows piercing his heart. My heart is broken. He lost again, losing 360 pieces of supreme-grade spiritual jades. $360. In addition to the 120 yuan he had lost earlier. 480 pieces of supreme-grade spirit jades. I don't want to live anymore. I can't live anymore. It was clearly a battle that they had a 90% chance of winning, but they still lost. Moreover, he lost cleanly and happily. Ding Byuk and Yu Bunning tried their best to maintain their composure. Big brother, You always say that a bet must be fair. And a bet must be won. We are very embarrassed, but a win is a win, and a loss is a loss. We will not be disrespectful. Hua Yinfeng's face was livid. I'll give them to you when we get back. I've left all the supreme grade spirit jades at home. Why don't you give it to him now? Yu Bunning pursed his lips and said, We know that all your top-grade spiritual jades are in your ring. Given Big Brother's character, how can he be at ease if he doesn't carry such good stuff with him? When we get back, I'm afraid it will be very difficult for us to see you again. Do I look like a shameless person who goes back on his word? Hua Yinfeng cried in grief and indignation, almost coughing up blood. You are. The two of them nodded in agreement. There was a flash of light. Tai Ching-sung and Yang Ping were both revived. Their eyes were blank for a moment, and then they recalled the battle at the same time. Yang Ping's expression was extremely complicated. He said slowly, I'll seek advice from Brother Tai in the future. Tai Ching-sung's eyes were full of sincerity as he said, There's still a long way to go, and I'm sure we'll meet again. Yang Ping nodded, turned around and slowly walked back. The expression on his face did not show any sign of defeat. Instead, it was calm, and his eyes were crystal clear. He had actually benefited a lot from this battle, and it was only a matter of time before he made another breakthrough. In fact, this was inevitable. The path of cultivation was rugged and difficult, and the easiest way to make progress was to go through life and death battles. Tai Ching-sung and Yang Ping's cultivation base was similar, and so was their fighting spirit and willpower. Although Tai Ching-sung had won this battle, it was still a tie for both of them. Moreover, they would take another big step forward after this battle. Therefore, this battle was a great opportunity for Yang Ping. After all, with his current status, background and strength, it was almost impossible for him to find an opponent who was on par with him and fight him in an extreme battle without causing any trouble afterward. And this battle was obviously a rare opportunity that could not be replicated. In the Celestial Luck Banner Challenge, Residents of Nine Supremes has defeated Thousand Mountains Sect, which is ranked 8th, and advanced to the next round. Hua Yinfeng announced with his heart bleeding. My heart and liver. It hurts so much. Half of my life savings, all ended in one day. And these two little beasts have one half of it. Damn it. Will Residents of Nine Supremes continue the challenge? Yin Yang's voice was clear and loud. Yes, of course. Sect leader Du, we still have the last 2 matches. Thousand Mountains Sect admits defeat. We don't have to fight the last 2 matches. Du Yangfan made the decision without hesitation. If Yang Ping had won the last match, he would naturally continue to fight with all his strength and try his luck. But now, he had lost all 3 matches, and his sect's demotion was a foregone conclusion. It was meaningless for him to fight the last 2 matches that he had no chance of winning. At most, he would be working for free for the 7th-ranked sect, letting them see more of Residents of Nine Supreme strength and deal with it calmly. Do we look so stupid to you? How could we do it without a certain benefit? Hua Yinfeng swallowed and said, Thousand Mountains Sect has forfeited the last 2 matches. Residents of Nine Supremes, which ranks 8th with the lower-class Celestial Luck banners, has won all 5 matches and will automatically enter the next round. We will challenge Illusory Sword Sect, which ranks 7th. The faces of all the people from Illusory Sword Sect flickered when they heard that. Residents of Nine Supremes' morale was soaring, and its fighting strength was even more appalling. Thousand Mountains Sect had sent out all its elites, but they were still defeated. Their sect really had no confidence at all. What should they do? Yin Yang, sect leader of Residents of Nine Supremes, and Lu Qingfeng, sect leader of Illusory Sword Sect, please come up for a discussion. At the same time, the whole space fell into complete silence. In just a short period of time, Residents of Nine Supremes had won all the matches and advanced 2 levels. What was worse was that no one had figured out the strength of Residents of Nine Supremes. Whether it was Shi Wuchen in the match of the backbone, or the match of the disciples, or the match of the formations, none of the flaws was a flaw. All of them were extremely strong. After experiencing the new round of the match of the backbone, and witnessing Tai Ching-sung's fighting strength, they no longer believed that Luo Dajiang was the strongest expert of Residents of Nine Supremes after Yin Yang. So how far could Residents of Nine Supremes advance? This was something that no one could come to a conclusion about. But how could Residents of Nine Supremes, which had just been established for less than half a year, be so fierce? Was there any justice in this world? On the high platform, Lu Qingfeng, as the challenged party, your illusory sword sect can decide the rules of the match according to the rules, Hu Yinfeng said in a businesslike manner. He glanced at Yun Yang, and then hurriedly turned his head back. One look at him would make one's heart ache so much that one would rather die than make a sound. You are simply my bane. I don't want to see you. Yun Yang shuddered when he was stared at by the deacon's resentful gaze. What's going on? Why are you looking at me like that? I'm so scared to tell you. Lu Qingfeng's eyes were also complicated at the moment, and the way he looked at Yun Yang also seemed to be resentful. What tactics can I use? In the match of formations, our sect is even weaker than Thousand Mountains sect. Are we going to be killed by you? The match of the backbone, and the match of the peak. Based on the strength shown by Tai Ching Song just now, none of us can defeat him. The match of the sect leaders? Forget it. I can only defeat Sherwuchen at most. How can I be a match for Yun Yang? At most, it's the match of the disciples, and there may be a little hope. What the F***ck is there to fight? We don't have a chance of winning any of the tactics we can choose. We are bound to lose at least 3 matches. How the F***ck am I supposed to choose? As a sect leader, Lu Qingfeng had always been calm and well-behaved. But now he was at a loss for words because of this choice. Chapter 1091. I need to discuss this with the people in my sect. Lu Changfeng said bitterly. All right. Lu Qingfeng left. Yin Yang was still where he was. Sect leader Yin, you don't look very old, do you? Hu Yinfeng tried to find something to talk about. I'm 20 years old this year. Yin Yang nodded. I'm not young anymore. You're not young anymore? How are you not young anymore? Hu Yinfeng was shocked by the answer he received. Although he had long judged that Yin Yang was not old with his experience and judgment, he did not expect the boy to be so young. He was almost a teenager. 20 years old. A saint at the age of 20. Are you trying to scare me to death? Even in the Sacred Heart Palace, there are not many people with such a cultivation base at such an age. Just now, he thought that sect leader Yun might be an old monster pretending to be young, but he did not expect that he was really young. Sect leader Yun, you're a gifted genius, Hu Yinfeng said with great sincerity. Ding Byuk said, Big brother, why don't we bet again? We'll bet on Residents of Nine Supremes. Haha. Hu Yinfeng put on a fake smile and said, You two can go wherever you want to die. Do you think I'm stupid? It's still uncertain whether Illusory Sword Sect will fight or not. Maybe they will just admit defeat. Do you think I can't tell? Do you really think I'm a fool with too much money? I've fallen into the same pit twice. Do you want me to fall into it a third time? You two are so mean. Meanwhile, Lu Qingfeng returned to his sect and discussed countermeasures with several higher-ups. Spittle flew everywhere as they discussed, but there was still no conclusion. After a long while, everyone lowered their heads, helplessness and humiliation overflowing on their faces. Lu Qingfeng stood up. There's no need to fight this round. Illusory Sword Sect admits defeat. Admit defeat. As soon as the decision came out, it shocked the whole venue. As soon as the words came out, Residents of Nine Supremes won without a fight and advanced directly to the 7th place. F***ck. The sect leader of Beast Trainer Sect, who was ranked 6th, cursed. Lu Qingfeng, you're the sect leader of a sect with a lower-class celestial luck banner. You can't just admit defeat. You should at least fight, right? It was better to be beaten to death than to be scared to death. Didn't you understand? To actually admit defeat without even fighting. Aren't you guys ashamed? The sect leader of Beast Trainer Sect, Qin Ruogu, was so angry that his nose almost went crooked, but there was still something he wanted to say in his heart. How would we know if the Residents of Nine Supremes still has hidden forces, if you don't even fight? Lu Qingfeng said faintly. Illusory Sword Sect is ranked 7th, only in the lower 3 grades of lower class sections. Even if we fall to 8th, we are still on the same level, and the gap is negligible. We appreciate residents of 9 Supremes, so we might as well not fight. We'll make way for our friend, and save time for all the sects present. We're doing this for everyone's sake. As he spoke, he nodded at Yin Yang from afar. It meant that they were friends. Yin Yang nodded and smiled as well. I'm afraid our friendship can only last until the end of this celestial luck banner competition. It won't last much longer, he thought to himself. It seems that in addition to these people here, many of the disciples you left in your base have been killed by residents of 9 Supremes. If you can swallow such a deep hatred, I may admire you or be wary of you, but I will never regard you as a friend. Now let's invite Qin Ruogu, the sect leader of Beast Trainer sect, up here for a talk, said Hui Yinfeng. Then, he asked Yin Yang. Sect leader Yin, do you want to challenge the residents of Beast Trainer sect in one go today? Or do you want to rest for a day? Or do you want to fight the next day? Yin Yang was surprised. We can rest during the Celestial Luck Banner competition. Of course we can rest, Hui Yinfeng said amiably. It's fine if there are no challenges from sects. But if there are a lot of challenges, it's possible for the competition to last for a month. Yin Yang thought for a moment and said, then let's continue the challenge tomorrow morning. Upon hearing Yin Yang's words, Qin Ruoga breathed a sigh of relief. It was also a good thing for Beast Trainer sect to have one more night to come up with strategies and tactics. At least they had time to plan. Now, residents of 9 Supreme's unstoppable momentum was just too frightening. He had to admit that he was under a lot of pressure. Even though residents of 9 Supremes could adjust their breath, recover their mind, and even discuss strategies after they went back, they knew very little about Beast Trainer sect. Residents of 9 Supremes had definitely miscalculated by giving them one more night. On the same night, it was nighttime. Wuchen, it's time for the 9 of us to take our medicine. Yin Yang's face was full of a sinister smile as he took out some pills. This is a great place. All divine senses are sealed off, and it's absolutely safe. In other words, we can safely and smoothly break through our current realm tonight, and no sect or anyone will know about it. At least, we'll have to wait until tomorrow before someone comes to share our joy. There was a sinister smile on Yin Yang's face, which was really King incongruous with his handsome face. The smile made sure Wuchen and the others break out in a cold sweat for Beast Trainer sect. Whenever their boss showed such a smile, someone would be tricked to death. So far there had been no exception. It seemed that Beast Trainer sect was destined to have an easy time tomorrow. In fact, as long as they thought about it, they would be able to roughly guess what would happen tomorrow. The other side would use the strength of their opponents they saw today as a benchmark, and from there, they would come up with the corresponding battle tactics and strategies. But when they really fought tomorrow, the strength that the other side's participants displayed was actually an entire realm higher than yesterday's. How were they going to fight this battle? It was also because of this similarity that Shi Wuchen and the others had a sinister smile on their faces as they took the pills given by Yin Yang one by one. Don't worry too much. There's one more thing we need to consider. That is, Beast Trainer sect is famous for its beasts, so they will definitely have some unconventional means to help them in battle. We don't have this kind of assistance, so it will be unprecedentedly difficult to fight against enemies with the help of spiritual beasts. Fighting one is almost like fighting two. We have to be careful about this. Also, Beast Trainer sect is a middle 3-class sect with lower-class celestial luck banners, so they will definitely be much more difficult to deal with than Thousand Mountains sect. We have to pay attention to this as well, Yin Yang said solemnly. It was as if the person with the sinister look just now was not him. He changed his expression so quickly that it was almost as if he was the best actor. We don't have to worry about the breakthrough of our strength today, but in tomorrow's match of disciples, and even the match of formations, the disciples will have to face the beasts as support. I'm afraid the result will be uncertain. They have no experience in this aspect. After all, our goal is to win all the matches, and we can't afford to lose even one. When Shi Wuchen and the others heard Yin Yang's concern, they too began to worry, and the calmness they had a moment ago vanished instantly. This was indeed a problem that could not be ignored. Chapter 1092. Based on my understanding of the beast-controlling sect, the spirit beasts and profound beasts, that the people of the beast-controlling sect can control basically do not exceed their own cultivation. At most, they are of the same level, and being of the same level is a very rare match. The demon race is always watching from the sidelines. As long as the cultivation base of the subdued beasts exceeds that of their masters, their control will be weakened, and they can easily be instigated by the demon race. It's not uncommon for such beasts to backfire in battles like this. So, Luo Dajiang continued, if they encounter us, who are experienced, they will often concentrate their power to the limit to kill the mystical beasts first, and then turn to deal with the beast master. After all, the combat strength of the controlled mystical beasts will no longer be wild, and their innate combat ability will be reduced by at least one level. In this way, it's actually not difficult to kill them. Tai Ching-song snorted and said, what's the use of saying all this? Who doesn't know this? The problem now is that our disciples have excellent cultivation base, but they have never seen a ferocious beast. It's already good enough that they don't cry in fear when it suddenly appears in front of them. It's too dangerous to fight it rashly. If anything happens to them, I'm afraid it will leave a psychological scar in their hearts, which will cause endless trouble in the future, not to mention the battle for the celestial luck banner. This was indeed a tricky problem, and if it could not be solved, it would be a great crisis. Yin Yang frowned and said slowly, you don't have to worry about this. Take the medicine and break through first, and I'll think of a way. Sigh, it's just a rehearsal after all, and it may not work. But there's nothing else we can do now. We can only try it as a last resort. May I ask what the solution is, boss? Everyone was very curious about the solution Yin Yang mentioned, and they were not in the mood to take the medicine to break through. Yin Yang ignored Shi Wuchen and the rest. He gathered all 10 of his disciples, and gave each of them a small bead. Wear this when you're going to fight tomorrow. If you encounter a mystical beast, you can try to persuade it. Just try to communicate with it. Cough cough. I believe it will work. Everyone present, without exception, stared with wide eyes. Try to persuade it? Try to communicate with it? With mystical beasts and spirit beasts? Can they understand it? Is this your so-called method of trying everything in a desperate situation? There really was no other way. It was simply wishful thinking. Desperate times call for desperate measures. There's no need to be so surprised. You don't need to know what's in your hands right now. All you need to know is that this thing has a very good effect on Xian beasts, spirit beasts, or demonic beasts. You only need to say, I have something good here. The only thing you need to pay attention to is that the beads in your hands cannot be snatched away by anyone. If someone really comes to snatch it, swallow it immediately. Yin Yang instructed. Do you remember? Got it. Yin Xiuxin and the others were naturally puzzled by Yin Yang's strategy. But they also knew that now was not the time to solve their doubts. He only needed to do as he was told. In any case, his master would not harm him. For the rest of the night, the residence of 9 Supremes had not been lit at all. There was not a single sound of activity. The platforms were separated from each other by a thick white fog. Even if there were lights, even if there were any movements, it would be completely obscured. Therefore, no one knew that there was no movement from the residence of 9 Supremes. As for Beast Trainer Sect, residence of 9 Supremes' opponent tomorrow, they had been planning and preparing for the whole night. This is a fight to the death for our sect. Qin Ruoga's face was very grave. Our sect is different from Thousand Mountains Sect or Illusory Sword Sect. As that old fool Lu Chengfeng said, whether they win or lose, they will still be lower-class celestial luck banners, but we are middle-class celestial luck banners. And once we take a step back, it's equivalent to dropping a level. Thousand Mountains Sect and Illusory Sword Sect's ranking may drop, but they won't really lose anything. But if we lose, we'll suffer a great loss. For our sect, we can only win this battle. I'll be frank. If you lose because of the absolute gap in strength, no one will blame you. But, if someone loses because of carelessness, he or she will have to go to the patriarch and kill himself to apologize. Qin Ruoga's eyes were particularly fierce and frightening at the moment. Everyone nodded in agreement. After all, They all knew the seriousness of the consequences of losing the battle, and none of them thought that Qin Ruogu was making a fuss over a minor issue. Now let's discuss the specific tactics of the battle. Qin Ruogu took a deep breath and calmed his face. Our goal is to win 3 matches, and there's no need to pursue too much. An old man with white hair and a beard, his face full of wrinkles and his eyes gleaming, said, "For example, residents of 9 Supremes' tactics of formations have reached the pinnacle of the Tao of formations. And it is the most powerful formation I've ever seen in my life. No matter what, it will be difficult for us to win this match. Personally, I suggest we just give up and stop wasting our energy." "You're right, Uncle Master. The Tao of formations is indeed difficult to turn around," said Qin Ruogu. "In your opinion, what are our chances in the remaining 4 matches?" "The strongest fighting force in our sect is you, Uncle Master. You're a peak 4th tier saint expert, and also our greatest trump card." Qin Ruogu said, "Uncle Master, in your opinion, what is the real cultivation base of Luo Dajiang, Tai Ching Song, and that yin yang in the few matches during the day? If Uncle Master were to fight them, would you be able to defeat any of them?" The old man's wrinkled face looked even deeper when he heard that. He went over the battle during the day in his mind again, and then said in a deep voice, "These 3 men should be the strongest fighting force in residence of 9 Supremes, so I can't be wrong. According to my observation," he paused again and said, "even though these people's cultivation is not as good as mine, the difference is extremely small." Qin Ruogu's face darkened again. "Doesn't that mean each of them has the cultivation base of a peak 4th tier saint? 3 peak 4th tier saints?" When the others heard this, their expressions changed for a while and they panicked. The reason why the illusory sword sect could suppress the Thousand Mountains sect, which was famous for its formation, was not because of its lack of strength, but the reason why it could not make further progress and obtain a higher grade of celestial luck banner was because the beast-controlling sect not only had the help of mystical beasts, but also 2 4th-level saints, while the illusory sword sect only had 1. This little difference in peak fighting strength determined the overall strength of the 2 sects. On the surface, the residents of 9 Supremes already had 3 4th-grade saints. Their combined combat strength was already above beast trainer sects. Not to mention that they were defeated in the first match of formations, which made them even more powerless to fight. Under such conditions, it was not a pipe dream to win 3 matches, but at least the situation was unprecedentedly grim, appalling, and unimaginable. The situation has not developed to the point of no return yet. The old man hesitated for a moment, and then said, "Beast Trainer Sect is famous for its beasts, so we naturally have to think of a way to deal with this. First of all, I'll bring my Jade Wind Wolf to fight tomorrow, and inject the fire of life into it. I think I can increase my chances of winning to more than 80%, and I'll win the match as soon as possible." Qin Ruogu's expression flickered, and a deep sorrow came over his face. Chapter 1093. The so-called flame of life was the most intuitive manifestation of the power of life. The fighting strength enhanced by the flame of life could only last for a moment, and it could not be replenished easily. Even in the 5th-layer celestial realm, it could not be replenished, especially when such a mystic art had to be developed before the battle. The current condition of this Uncle Master of Beast Trainer Sect was probably slightly better than that of Elder Zhang and Elder Li. Although his life was almost at its end, he still had a few decades to live. Originally, there was still a slight hope for him to find an opportunity to make a breakthrough, or to find some treasures to prolong his life. There was still hope in all these. But if he destroyed the flame of life this time, his life would be further consumed, and he might not be able to wait until then, and he would certainly die prematurely. But this was the only match they had the confidence to win, so they had to fight. Because if they did not, they would surely lose. "Uncle Master." Everyone's expression changed. "My battle has been decided." A serene smile appeared on the old man's face as he said, "The foundation and glory of my ancestors that lasted thousands of years. If I just watch it be lost, how would I have the face to pay my respects to my ancestors in the future?" Qin Ruogu took a deep breath, gritted his teeth and said, "All right, Uncle Master's match is decided." Everyone bowed their heads in silence for a long while. "Let's move on to the second match," Chinruoga said through gritted teeth. "The second match is between the disciples. We should have a 70% chance of winning this match. Every junior disciple of Residence of Nine Supremes is a young genius, and I can see it without using my divine sense. However, it is precisely because they are all young geniuses that they are young and have little experience that they cannot avoid. If our disciples bring their spirit beasts with them, they will certainly be caught off guard and thrown into a panic. As long as we strike at the right moment, our chances of winning are still very high. All right, the second match will be a one-on-one match between the disciples. How should we proceed with the third match?" asked Chinruogu. The old man gave Chinruogu a meaningful look and said, "Ruogu, the third match is the match of sect leaders." "The match of sect leaders?" Chinruogu was taken aback. "I'm a saint at the pinnacle of the second level, but Yun Yang is already at the pinnacle of the fourth level." The old man smiled faintly. "No, I'm certain that you'll win. Have you forgotten that our beast trainer sect's guardian divine beast?" Chinruoga's spirit was lifted when he heard that. Not bad, he said. It was the first time Chinruoga smiled today. At this moment, Chinruoga felt much more relaxed. According to Martial Granduncle's arrangement, their chances of winning had really risen to more than 80%. It had to be said that the older the ginger, the spicier it was. Last but not least, I'd like to make one more point. According to our wishful thinking, our chances of winning the 3 matches should be more than 80%. The old man said, "But we must set aside 1 match in case something unexpected happens. Whether Residence of Nine Supremes has shown its full strength is still uncertain. For example, when they fought Kangwu Union, they sent Sherwuchen. Although his overall strength was only second-rate, everyone misjudged him and thought he was the second strongest expert of Residence of Nine Supremes. That was a great miscalculation. We've already done everything we can, and we can't afford to make any mistakes in this detail." "I have an idea," a young disciple suddenly interjected. "We can propose a match of mystical beasts. That is, we can use mystical beasts to decide the outcome of the match." "Nonsense." Chinruoga was displeased. "Residence of Nine Supremes doesn't have any mystical beasts." Before he could finish, his eyes lit up. "It's true that Residence of Nine Supremes doesn't have any mystical beasts, and it's not fair to use mystical beasts to decide the outcome of the match. However, Thousand Mountain Sect has avoided the match of sect leaders with the excuse of fighting on their own. That's a lesson from the past. Why can't we do the same? We're in charge of the rules of the match, and we can fight however we want. If we do that, although we'll lose face, we'll still win the match, Master." Upon hearing the disciples' words, the eyes of everyone in Beast Trainer Sect lit up. Not bad at all. This is a wonderful idea. Beast Trainer Sect is famous for its beasts, so it's reasonable for us to use mystical beasts and spirit beasts to fight. And it's even understandable for us to use demon beasts. That's the kind of sect we are after all. What a brilliant idea. Chinruoga burst out laughing. With that, we can really be said to be invincible. If we win the first 3 matches, we naturally won't use this dishonorable trick. But if that happens, maybe we can use this trick to turn the tables. Sect leader is wise. Chinruoga looked at the disciple and said, "Go back and receive your reward after we return victorious." "Thank you, Master." The whole Beast Trainer Sect was in a jubilant mood, but the old man just sighed softly and closed his eyes, for he felt a piercing chill filling his heart. Previously, when they did not have a way to win, it was understandable for them to include him in the starting lineup by sacrificing his lifespan. But now, with such a trick, they could win this match for sure, and they could just put me in the back as a last resort. Why? Why didn't the whole sect think of it? Why didn't anyone mention it? Was it just because the trick was dishonorable, and they refused to give up their pride? Everyone in the sect was jumping with joy as if victory was already in their grasp, and none of them had considered that their martial Uncle Master's life would come to an end after this battle. The old man closed his eyes, and the chill in his heart seemed to have grown stronger. I have been protecting Beast Trainer sect all my life. Why is it that when the most important battle comes, I am still willing to sacrifice myself to protect my sect? Early the next morning, although the whole arena was still shrouded in a boundless fog, the morning air was fresher and more pleasant than that of the outside world. Everyone, including Hui Yunfeng, came to the grandstand one after another. Their eyes were fixed on the celestial luck banner, which was now in the 7th place. The look in their eyes was very complicated. It had been many years since something like this had happened in the Battle of the Celestial Luck Banner. The Battle of the Celestial Luck Banner was held every 3 years, and every 3 years, a challenger would be born to challenge the sect that ranked last in the lower-class Celestial Luck Banner. Kangwu Union was also a strong sect that had been challenged in recent years, but had never been replaced. Over the years, it had probably only been threatened by another sect with a strong foundation, the Wild Saber sect. There had been no other challenges. However, the Residence of 9 Supremes was only a small sect that had just been established. Not long after its emergence, it had advanced all the way and obtained the qualification to face the veteran sects with Celestial Luck Banner. Moreover, after defeating the strong sect Kangwu Union, it went on to challenge Thousand Mountains sect. Even when its opponent maliciously changed the rules of the match, it still won a complete victory. After that, it defeated the higher-ranked Illusory Sword sect without a fight, and now challenged Beast Trainer sect, which ranked 7th in the lower-class Celestial Luck Banner. In one go, it had defeated 3 sects with lower-class Celestial Luck Banners in a row. Remember the mobile version's URL, M. Chapter 216. The plan is set. Page 1/1. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 1094. Such an achievement was more than appalling. It was simply insane and boundlessly ruthless. But now they still wanted to move forward. It seemed that the word strong had been applied to Residence of 9 Supremes. They just didn't know how long, and to what extent Residence of 9 Supremes could maintain its strength. No one could guarantee which ranking they would stop at. At this moment, the few sects that were ranked at the top of the rankings all felt a subtle sense of danger, as if they were all trembling with fear. It would be fine if Beast Trainer sect could successfully intercept Residence of 9 Supremes. But if they failed, Residence of 9 Supremes would become a thorn in their flesh, and they would never feel at ease at all. Standing on the high platform, Hui Yunfeng could not help but roll his eyes when he saw that all the other sects had arrived except for Residence of 9 Supremes. They're really patient. Beast Trainer sect has arrived a long time ago. Ding Byuk smiled faintly and said, "If it were me, I would be very patient too, because the fundamental purpose of coming here was achieved yesterday. No matter how far we can go, we will have earned it. How can we not be patient? Moreover, there is no danger involved. Even if we die, we can be resurrected on the spot. What's the point of fighting for a moment?" Yu Bunning laughed and said, "That's right. Do you want to make another bet?" Hui Yunfeng rolled his eyes. "A bet between Residence of 9 Supremes and Beast Trainer sect?" Ding Byuk and Yu Bunning's faces changed at the same time. Last night, they had held the 240 pieces of supreme-grade spiritual jade in their hands, and they had been smiling even in their dreams. Now when they heard that the culprit was still unwilling to give up, they were naturally shocked and flustered. Hui Yunfeng must have some ulterior motive for making the bet 3 times. Could their luck continue? The current situation was different from the previous day. In the first round, the two of them were forcibly pulled into the game by Hui Yunfeng. Although they won in an inexplicable way. In the second round, the two of them almost gave up. After all, everyone could see that Hui Yunfeng was determined to make up for his loss in the first round. However, the unexpected victory gave the two of them an unimaginably huge profit. Now that Hui Yunfeng had proposed a bet, the two of them were naturally unwilling from the bottom of their hearts. After all, there was no need for them to take risks when they had such great benefits. "Let's bet on today's battle," said Hui Yunfeng. Residence of 9 Supreme's formidable strength is still vivid in everyone's mind, and its strength is beyond everyone's expectation. On the other side, Beast Trainer Sect is also a middle-tier sect with lower-class celestial luck banners. Their strength is not weak, and Illusory Sword Sect, Thousand Mountains Sect, and Kangwu Union can compare with them. Moreover, they have the help of mystical beasts. The fight between these two sects will not only be exciting, it will also be filled with suspense. He said, so this time the odds are 1-to-1, which is the fairest. Ding Byuk and Yu Bunning looked at each other and felt a headache coming on. If it was possible, the two of them definitely didn't want to gamble anymore. But how could they not gamble? The two of them had won 2 rounds in a row, and their boss had lost so badly that his face had turned green. If they didn't give him a chance to make a comeback, wouldn't that be too ugly? Therefore, they still had to gamble this round. But as Hui Yunfeng said, it was really difficult to judge which of the two sects was stronger, and who would win. In the first 2 rounds, residents of 9 Supremes faced Kangwu Union and Thousand Mountains Sect. Because of Shi Wuchen's first battle, everyone had a painful experience of misjudging residents of 9 Supremes' fighting strength. As a result, residents of 9 Supremes, which was supposed to be freakishly strong, was mistaken as a pushover. This also made residents of 9 Supremes look weak, which led them to passively choose to bet on it. They had no choice but to gamble in the first round, which was actually to deliberately send money over. And in the second round, it was to return the money. Who would have thought that they would win both rounds? But, how should they bet on this round? Since it's hard to judge, let's ask Boss to choose first. Boss will choose one, and we'll choose the other. It all depends on luck, and there's no other way to explain it. The two of them made up their minds. In the face of their decision, Hui Yunfeng was in a dilemma. After all, even Hui Yunfeng found it difficult to choose at the moment. There was no doubt that residents of 9 Supremes was very strong. Everyone could see it and could not deny it. However, almost every senior member of Beast Trainer Sect and its core fighting force had a mystical beast with them, and even the elite disciples often had pet beasts with them. It was no joke that Beast Trainer Sect's fighting strength had increased out of thin air. This must be taken into account. Under such circumstances, no matter how strong residents of 9 Supremes was, it might not be a match for Beast Trainer Sect. I choose Beast Trainer Sect this round. Hui Yunfeng gritted his teeth and said, I don't believe I can fall into the same trap 3 times. Ding Byuk and Yu Bunning nodded helplessly. In that case, we'll still bet on residents of 9 Supremes. What's the bet for this round? 100 Supreme Grade bets this time. What do you think? Hui Yunfeng gritted his teeth and pondered for a long time before finally coming up with a number. Ding Byuk and Yu Bunning were a little surprised when they heard it. They had thought that he would propose a bet of hundreds of spiritual jade, but it was only 100 this time. This doesn't seem to be Boss's style. Boss, don't tell me you've run out of money? Yu Bunning asked suspiciously. Boss can't be so poor, can he? Hui Yunfeng blushed and said, Between us brothers, a small bet is just for fun. It's just for fun. Hee. Finally, residents of 9 Supremes came out. As soon as Yin Yang came out, he felt the covetous eyes of the crowd. Everyone's gaze on the residents of 9 Supremes was complicated and indescribable. The eyes of Beast Trainer Sect, which was next to residents of 9 Supremes, were even more complicated and inexplicable. Let's welcome the 2 sect leaders. Hui Yunfeng's voice rang out suddenly. This time, both sects quickly decided on the order of the duels. Well, in fact, it was still Beast Trainer Sect who made the rules, and residents of 9 Supremes accepted them all. The first match was the pinnacle match, in which both sects would send out their strongest experts. The second match was the match of disciples. The third match was the match of sect leaders. The fourth match was the match of free will. And the fifth match was the match of formations. When they saw the order Qin Ruoga had chosen, everyone knew that Beast Trainer Sect had clearly given up on the last match. Or perhaps they might not even be able to start the fourth match. Because in the first 3 matches, Beast Trainer Sect had at least a 70% chance of winning, which meant that they had a very high chance of winning. In a duel between cultivation experts, even the slightest difference could affect the outcome of the battle. Basically, there was more than a 60% chance of winning, and there was an 80 to 90% chance of winning. I have no objection. Yin Yang agreed without hesitation. In that case, let's get ready. Hua Yinfeng was very satisfied with Yin Yang's straightforwardness. He patted Qin Ruogu on the shoulder and encouraged him with a smile. Sect leader Qin, I think very highly of Beast Trainer Sect. Qin Ruogu was flattered. Thank you for your appreciation, Lord Deacon. Beast Trainer Sect will certainly not lose this match. Hua Yinfeng pretended to be calm and said, Come on, just do your best. After all, he had a responsibility to bear, so he could not show his partiality too obviously. At least he had to maintain a fair attitude. At this moment, a bleak old man from Beast Trainer Sect was already standing in the field, waiting for the arrival of his opponent. Chapter 1095. Beside him was a giant wolf with silver eyes. I'm Ming Xiao from Beast Trainer Sect. Who from the residence of 9 Supremes would like to spar with me? Yin Yang waved his hand. Luo Dajiang strode out with his saber in hand. Luo Dajiang from the residence of 9 Supremes. After Kangwu Union had established its might in the battle, Luo Dajiang's reputation, as the #1 expert in the residence of 9 Supremes other than Yin Yang, had resounded through all the sects with lower-class celestial luck banners. No one dared to underestimate him anymore, and no one regarded him as a whetstone anymore. The name of Supreme Saber had spread like wildfire. I didn't see Supreme Saber's true face that day, but now that I've seen you, you are indeed extraordinary. The old man slowly took out his weapon, which was a silver hook with a peculiar shape. No one knew how many souls had been buried on this silver hook, but as soon as it was taken out, it was shrouded in a faint layer of black, giving off a terrifying aura. Luo Dajiang's expression changed abruptly as he said in a deep voice, The Soul Reaper. The name Meng Xiao might not be familiar to him, but the famous Soul Reaper in the martial world had left a deep impression on Luo Dajiang. The soul-reaping silver hook, the path to the 9 serenities. If Luo Dajiang could not remember it when he saw the peculiar-looking silver hook weapon, he would not have been able to survive in the martial world for so many years. You've earned yourself an undeserved reputation. Meng Xiao's expression was unusually bleak, his white hair fluttering in the wind. Supreme Saber, please. Luo Dajiang glanced at the silver wolf, who had stood up abruptly as Meng Xiao moved. With a vigilant look on his face, he slowly straightened his saber and said in a deep voice, Please enlighten me, senior. As he straightened his saber, his body leaned forward slightly, and as his expression turned solemn, a heavy aura suddenly rose. Both their divine senses were disturbed by the unique influence of this place, causing them to lose their understanding of the enemy's combat strength. However, as they faced each other at such a close distance, Meng Xiao had a slight understanding of Luo Dajiang's strength through the sensing of their auras. His expression changed slightly, and the silver wolf showed a vigilant look almost at the same time. The man and the wolf both felt as if the person they were facing was no longer a simple person, but a heavy mountain, unshakable and unshakable. Luo Dajiang had merely stood there with his saber in his arms, but with this slight movement, he had become flawless, making it difficult for him to land an attack. However, even if there were no flaws, it did not mean that there were no flaws. Since Meng Xiao had such a great reputation, he was naturally a person who knew how to fight. The tip of his foot lightly touched the ground, and his body suddenly swayed. It was as if his body had split into 7 figures that shot out in all directions. Each figure held a soul-stealing silver hook, no different from the original body. The next moment, 8 Meng Xiaos surrounded Luo Dajiang from 8 directions. Flashing with silver light at the same time, they converged into 8 waves of attacks that came whistling down at the same time. Up to this point, Meng Xiao's attacks were already very aggressive and unusual. However, there was a silver wolf next to each of his clones, just like the main body. The 8 silver wolves moved with the waves, leaping into the air, and turning into streaks of silver light as they pounced toward Luo Dajiang. As soon as he made his move, it showed that this old man was worthy of being a veteran expert. His attack was extraordinary, and his power shook the heavens. Seeing that the deadly attack was coming, Luo Dajiang dared not to be careless. Storms of the 8 directions. Before his voice had died away, The saber in his hand moved abruptly and twirled around him. Suddenly, a layer of saber energy spread all over his body, shielding him from the wind and rain. Then his burly body charged forward, completely ignoring the attacks coming from all directions. Luo Dajiang rushed to the edge of the battlefield and slashed down with the saber in his hand, cutting one of the silver wolves in front of him into two. Then a crisp clang rang out. It was the sound of the saber and the hook colliding head-on. The clang meant that Luo Dajiang had accurately identified the location of Meng Zhao's real body among the 8 shadows, and he had even targeted the target with one strike. Meng Zhao grunted, and the clones around him vanished instantly. However, Luo Dajiang grunted at the same time, because the silver wolf's claw had scratched his right shoulder during the head-on clash with Meng Zhao. His flesh was badly mangled, and he was badly injured. The silver wolf's claw was even sharper than divine weapons. Luo Dajiang had the body of a Saint King now, so ordinary blades and swords could not break his defense, even if he stood still, and was held in the hands of an ordinary warrior. Yet he was wounded by the wolf's claws. However, it was not only Luo Dajiang's right shoulder that was injured. The silver wolf howled as well. The right front claw it used to attack Luo Dajiang was badly mangled, and all 3 of its nails were broken. This was the counterattack of a Saint King. The mere counterattack of the flesh had caused the silver wolf to be injured at the same time. At this moment, Luo Dajiang spun around abruptly and showed his back to Meng Zhao. At the same time, he raised his saber and slashed at the silver wolf, who was retreating quickly because of the pain. The saber light flashed like lightning, and the killing intent was like a raging wave. Meng Zhao staggered and could not stand steadily because of the blow just now. He was wondering why Luo Dajiang's cultivation base was so high that it seemed to be even higher than his own. When he saw the silver wolf in danger, he did not have time to stabilize his center of gravity, and the silver hook slipped out of his hand and stabbed straight at Luo Dajiang's exposed back. He quickly judged that the silver wolf had exposed its real body, because its attack had succeeded. However, Luo Dajiang's real strength was beyond his expectation, and naturally, he was much stronger than the silver wolf. The silver wolf would definitely die with this strike. It turned out that Luo Dajiang's real purpose was to cripple the silver wolf first. Although he had thrown out the silver hook and temporarily restrained Luo Dajiang's killing move, it was only a temporary restraint and could not do anything to Luo Dajiang. He needed to keep up with Luo Dajiang to really solve the silver wolf's crisis. To his surprise, Luo Dajiang laughed and said, "You've been fooled." Then, he spun around abruptly and kicked the purple gold crown backward, hitting the silver wolf's stomach with great precision. The silver wolf howled as its huge body was kicked off the ground, but Luo Dajiang only moved his body sideways. The silver hook flew past him with a trail of blood in it. Although it took away some flesh and blood, it did not seriously injure Luo Dajiang. After kicking the silver wolf away, Luo Dajiang charged forward again and crashed into Meng Zhao like a whirlwind, the edge of his saber gleaming. A helpless look came over Meng Zhao's face at once. He had no other choice at this moment. When he came back to help just now, with his experience, he had naturally thought that it might be Luo Dajiang's deliberate move to lure him to help. There was no reason for Luo Dajiang to be injured at the very beginning. He had tested the attack just now, and Luo Dajiang's mystical chi base could only be stronger than his. It was impossible for such an expert to put himself in an abnormally passive and terrible situation from the very beginning. Since it was an unreasonable situation, it was absolutely impossible. Since it was an unreasonable situation, it could only be that he had other plans. In a fight with someone from the Beast Trainer sect, it was the right thing to do to get rid of their auxiliary spirit beasts first. So Luo Dajiang's target was the silver wolf from the very beginning? Meng Zhao, who came to this conclusion, felt helpless. If he did not save it, the silver wolf would definitely die. And once it died, he, who was obviously weaker than him, would definitely be defeated. Therefore, he could only choose to save the silver wolf with all his might. However, he did not expect that Luo Dajiang's real purpose in pretending to kill the silver wolf from the very beginning was to lure him into the trap. His target was not the silver wolf from the very beginning, but Meng Zhao himself. Chapter 1096. With a muffled thud, Meng Xiao rolled away, covered in blood. With a roar, the silver wolf that was kicked away by Luo Dajiang pounced at him again, charging at him, as if it had no regard for its own life. Growling, it bit Luo Dajiang's left calf. Rings of wind blades emerged from its body and neck, flying out and slicing at Luo Dajiang's body. Luo Dajiang did not seem to notice the attack of the wind blades. He was still striding forward with the silver wolf, which was as big as a calf. The silver wolf bit Luo Dajiang's leg desperately and tried to recoil, but it was still dragged along by Luo Dajiang, leaving long claw marks on the ground. 8 of its phalanges were broken and stained with blood. On the other side, Meng Xiao, who had staggered back after being slashed by Luo Dajiang's saber, had lost his left arm. However, Luo Dajiang's attack did not slow down, and the sharp saber light flashed again. A look of despair flashed in Meng Xiao's eyes as he lost an arm, but his whole body suddenly expanded. At the same time, an extremely explosive and copious amount of profound energy wrapped around him in a rotating manner, and that mass of air was rapidly expanding outwards. Self-detonation. He was going to self-detonate. Luo Dajiang suddenly stopped moving forward and raised his right foot. Bam! 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 In just a flash, he had kicked more than 30 times in a row, turning the silver wolf that was biting his calf into silver ashes. Then, he threw the saber out of his hand and thrust it at Meng Xiao. At this moment, Meng Xiao's body had expanded to the extreme, and he detonated before Luo Dajiang's saber could reach him. The extreme self-detonation of a peak 4th level saint was extremely powerful, and it was earth-shattering. After kicking the silver wolf away, Luo Dajiang threw the saber away, kicked the ground with the tip of his foot, and shot out like an arrow shot from a bow. The tremendous power of the explosion came at him, and a saber light was the first to fly out. It was the saber Luo Dajiang wanted to counter, and it flew 100 feet away in a flash. The extraordinarily violent force of the explosion even blew Luo Dajiang's feet away. From his thighs to his thighs, his flesh and blood splattered in all directions, making him look miserable. However, his body had already flown 500 feet away. Although both his legs were gone, his life was not in danger. He took a deep breath and let his legs bleed profusely. He took out another saber from his ring and used it to push himself off the ground. His crippled body suddenly flew into the air and shouted, "I won!" One of the two sides had fallen while the other survived. No matter how injured the survivor was, he had still won. This was an indisputable fact. Everyone who witnessed this battle was silent for a long time. The entire place was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. This battle was short, but it was an extremely tragic battle. It was bound to be imprinted in the hearts of the spectators. Just like that, Meng Xiao and the silver wolf turned into ashes one after the other. Although Luo Dajiang was still alive, he was seriously injured. If it were not for the fact that he was in the pentagonal celestial realm, he would have been crippled for life and unable to walk. The loser had lost, but the winner had only won a Pyrrhic victory. Self-detonation was also a technique and tactic allowed by the rules. If the opponent self-detonated when he was at a disadvantage and killed the enemy, it would be considered a draw. Because it was a mutual destruction, Meng Xiao's plan was not wrong. From the first time they fought, he knew that Luo Dajiang's strength was higher than what he had shown before, a level higher than his own. Even if he sacrificed his life to elevate his cultivation base to a state stronger than his peak, and even with the help of the silver wolf, he was still no match for Luo Dajiang. The reality was obviously very different from the result of the discussion last night. The outcome of the battle was reversed. Therefore, after he failed in his ultimate move, he chose to self-detonate at the critical moment, intending to sacrifice his life and bring Luo Dajiang down with him. For him, winning a draw for the sect was the greatest victory. As long as he self-detonated, with the extreme power of exhausting his life force and forcibly raising his cultivation base, even if Luo Dajiang had reached the level of a Saint King, he would not be able to survive such a self-detonation attack. However, he never expected that Luo Dajiang would trade injury for injury from the very beginning. He would rather injure himself first than secure a victory, and cut off one of his arms. In this way, the power of the self-detonation he could unleash was weakened due to the loss of his limbs. In addition, Luo Dajiang reacted appropriately and did not rely on his Saint King cultivation base to withstand the power of the self-detonation. He fled at the first moment with extreme speed. In the end, only his legs were crippled, but his life was not in danger. This round was full of unexpected changes. Just a moment of hesitation, and the outcome of the battle would be rewritten. There was still dead silence in the arena. The battle was short, but the fierceness of it was the first time anyone had seen it in their lives. Luo Dajiang's strength had surpassed the peak 4th-tier Saint realm and reached the level of a Saint King. This was already a great shock to everyone present. However, in this battle, the Saint King was seriously injured, the peak 4th-tier Saint self-detonated, and the Beast King Silver Wolf was annihilated in just 5 moves. Whether it was the Silver Wolf, Luo Dajiang, or Meng Xiao, all 3 of them were extremely determined and did not hesitate at all. At this moment, only a few broken teeth of the Silver Wolf were left in the arena, still shining brightly. Everything had ended. It had come to an end. The loser had turned into powder, and the winner had lost both his legs, not to mention his body that was cut into pieces by the wind blades. Is this still a battle between Saint King level experts? Residents of 9 Supremes, tears glistened in Jiang Luolua's eyes. She wanted to step forward to show her concern, but she managed to hold back. Residents of 9 Supremes wins this match. Huo Yunfeng's eyes turned red when he said that. My spiritual jade. My wealth. Why do I feel like I've fallen into this pit again? Wasn't Luo Dajiang's strength just a peak 4th-tier saint yesterday? How did he become a Saint King today? This doesn't make sense. Has he been hiding his strength from the beginning? How many trump cards does residents of 9 Supremes have? Why are they so powerful? Every time I think I'm going to lose, I'm going to be the one to enjoy myself. The moment the winner was announced, the recovery light came as expected. Luo Dajiang and Meng Xiao appeared in the arena at the same time, and the Silver Wolf reappeared as well, still covered in silver fur, and standing in high spirits. However, its eyes were full of fear when it looked at Luo Dajiang. How can this human be so brutal? He's even more brutal than us mystical beasts. Meng Xiao's eyes were fixed on Luo Dajiang as he asked, Are you dead? Almost, Luo Dajiang replied calmly. But both my legs were blown away by you, so I'm still alive. Meng Xiao heaved a long sigh. What a pity, what a pity. With a wave of his hand, he left with the Silver Wolf. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Chapter 219 A Pyrrhic Victory. Page 1/1. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 1097. The Silver Wolf turned its head and gave Luo Dajiang a stealthy look, as if it wanted to remember this human, then went back to Meng Xiao's side. Qin Ruoga's eyes were wide open as he stared at his uncle master, who was walking toward him. His head was still dizzy, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He could not believe that his uncle master, who had destroyed his life force, whose overall strength had reached the level of a half-step Saint King, had the full support of a Beast King, and had even self-detonated in the end, was still defeated. It was a nightmare. I've lost. I've done my best, and there's nothing I can do about it, Meng Xiao said faintly. Prepare for the next battle. Qin Ruoga nodded blankly. Meng Xiao sighed and walked back to his seat. Uncle Master. Qin Ruoga blurted out. Meng Xiao did not look back. After this battle, no matter who wins or loses, I'll leave the sect. In my last moments, I'll have a drink with my old friends, and have a good look at the world. I won't be in the sect anymore. After I die, someone will naturally send my body back. Uncle Master. Qin Ruoga cried out with his eyes wide open. Even his voice was filled with disbelief. That's all. With his back turned, Meng Xiao waved his hand and said with a faint smile, I've been fighting for the beast-controlling sect for thousands of years. Now at the last moment, let me relax for a while and take a rest. I want to live my own life for the rest of my life. He laughed in a low, hoarse voice, then turned and left. Qin Ruoga's mind was blank. He could not figure out what had happened to his uncle master. Didn't he just lose the expected victory? I didn't say anything unpleasant, so why does it seem like I'm disheartened? Could it be that the defeat this time was such a huge blow to martial granduncle? The sect leader of Beast Trainer sect was really speechless. Even now, he still had not figured out why his uncle master had left so dejectedly. The second match is the match of disciples. A middle-aged disciple of Beast Trainer sect, who was in his 30s, rose to his feet, clutched his spirit beast ring, bowed and said, "Master, this disciple will fight." "All right." The disciple walked quickly out of the room. On the residence of Nine Supreme's side, Bai Yeshing took a step forward and said, "Master, this disciple requests to fight." Just as Yun Xiaoxin was about to speak, Bai Yeshing said, "Eldest senior sister, you've already fought one before. Leave this one to junior brother." Yun Xiaoxin rolled her eyes and said angrily, "Eldest senior brother and eldest senior sister should fight in the disciple battle." Yun Yang chuckled. "Yi Xing will fight in this battle." Bai Yeshing bowed and said, "Thank you, sect leader. This battle will not be easy, but as long as you remember what I said, you can still win." Yin Yang looked at Bai Yeshing and said, "Don't be careless, because in my opinion, this battle may be the one that Residence of Nine Supremes has the least chance of winning. In this battle, steadiness and ferocity are more important than combat strength." Bai Yeshing pursed his lips and said, "I understand. I will do my best and not bring shame to the sect." "Go." Yes. Clad in a white robe, Bai Yeshing picked up his sword and walked out of the arena at a slow speed. As he walked, he pondered the situation of the battle. There was no doubt that this battle was extremely crucial. His opponent was assisted by a spirit beast, and his strength was most likely about the same as his. So, how could he win? Although Yun Xiaoxin's strength was the strongest among all the disciples, she was a girl after all, and she was too young. As long as the opponent's spirit beast was a little fierce, she would inevitably be mentally weaker. Moreover, as the eldest senior sister of a sect, she could not be defeated. And I, Bai Yeshing, will definitely get through this. I'll do my best in this battle. Even if I can't win, I'll win by any means, even if I have to risk my life. I believe I can still fight for a chance to perish together with my opponent. No, an idea flashed in Bai Yeshing's mind. I can't perish together with my opponent. This battle is different from other battles. The attitude of the participants toward death is far different from that of other battles. They don't have to be afraid, because they can be resurrected after the battle. Who would really be afraid of death? So if I have this idea from the beginning, I've already prepared myself that I won't win. At most, I'll end up with a draw, and I'll already be mentally defeated. Then should I try another way of fighting? What is the true meaning of Master's repeated advice of steadiness and fierceness? Bai Yeshing pursed his lips and quickened his pace. If the battle between Luo Dajiang and Meng Xiao was fierce and quick, then Bai Yeshing's battle sent chills down everyone's spines and made them shudder. There was actually someone in the world who used such an extreme way to fight. When Residents of Nine Supremes fought Thousand Mountains sect in the Battle of Formations, Bai Yeshing was one of the disciples who participated in the battle. His strength was displayed to the fullest, and although it amazed everyone, it also revealed his true strength. Therefore, Beast Trainer sect had specially sent a disciple whose cultivation base had reached the realm of Venerable to fight him. The mystical beast of Beast Trainer sect, on the other hand, had surpassed the 9th grade. It was huge, ferocious, and frightening. Under the combined combat strength of these two opponents, Bai Yeshing was at a complete disadvantage almost from the beginning. Anyone present could see the situation. It was clear who was stronger and who was weaker, and it would be difficult to turn the situation around. However, Bai Yeshing had shown an indescribable performance since the beginning of the battle. As soon as the battle began, no one knew what he had done, but he merely showed his hand. But the opponent's ferocious look, which was about to devour him, suddenly disappeared. Then, he froze for a moment, and then flew away as if he was chasing something. It was a pity that the crowd was too far away, and they did not see what it was that could distract the mystical beast. But with the speed of the mystical beast, no matter what it was chasing, The time it could buy was at most a snap of its fingers. However, it was at this very moment that Bai Yeshing burst out with unprecedented speed and bolted forward. He did not even look at the sharp sword that was aimed at his heart, but thrust it at his opponent's throat. Knowing that he had the upper hand, his opponent was not willing to die together with him. Hastily, he changed his move to block, and at the same time, he wanted to buy himself a moment and wait for the mystical beast to return. The disciple of Beast Trainer sect had a good plan, but Bai Yeshing's next move was unexpected. The moment the saber and sword collided, Bai Yeshing's sword suddenly flew out of his hand. No one knew whether it was blocked by his opponent's weapon, or it let go of its own accord. But as soon as the battle began, Bai Yeshing was empty-handed. Genius in a second. Remember my address. Mobile version. Chapter 1098. Although the disciple of Beast Trainer sect did not know what was going on, he felt that it was not a bad thing. His opponent had been injured and thrown away his weapon. Was this still a bad thing for him? He could only be more confident. He hurriedly circulated his mystical chi to strike again. But just now, he had first attacked the enemy's vital parts, then switched to a defensive stance, mustering all his strength to parry Bai Yeshing's fierce attack. But somehow, his sword had been knocked away. Now when he tried to circulate his mystical chi again, he was shocked to find that the strength he had exerted so many times, especially when he was defending with all his might just now, was a little disordered. It would only take him half a breath at most to recover from the disorder. However, it was during this time that Bai Yeshing lunged forward like a madman, wrapped his arms around the young man's neck, and grabbed him by the neck with both hands. This was no longer a martial art move, but a pure gangster's way of fighting. It was a close combat. It was not only unexpected, but also unexpected. The opponent, a venerable expert, was suddenly hugged, and it was difficult for him to move or break free. The opponent reacted quickly, and the next moment, he stabbed his sword into Bai Yeshing's body. Unfortunately, his hands were restrained, and the sword did not hit his vital parts, so Bai Yeshing did not dodge. Instead, he mustered all his strength to continue strangling his opponent's neck. At the same time, the sword that had been knocked away just now returned to him. How could Bai Yeshing's sword be knocked away for no reason? This was the trump card he had prepared. The sword flew back from the man's back like a bolt of lightning, and fell silently like a meteor. The man did not know, but the onlookers exclaimed in unison. This was too dangerous. Then, Bai Yeshing used all his strength to keep his opponent motionless, causing both of them to be pierced by the sword that had been summoned back. In the battlefield of the Celestial Luck Banner competition, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the sword that had been summoned back came down from above, pierced through the opponent's chest, and then stabbed into Bai Yeshing's lower abdomen. The opponent screamed, his eyes wide. Bai Yeshing's face was expressionless, as indifferent as when he first appeared. His eyes were calm. It was as if he wasn't injured at all. He didn't stop there. He twisted his body without saying a word. He didn't hesitate to use his own body as a medium to break the sword that was stabbed into his body, and his own sword that was stabbed into his body. Use your own bones to break the two swords. Just saying that scene was extremely tragic, and horrifying wasn't enough to describe it. It was practically a restricted level. At this moment, the man screamed and struggled desperately to separate himself from Bai Yeshing. He staggered backward, looking at Bai Yeshing as if he was looking at a ghost. In this world, there are actually people who fight like this. He didn't treat himself as a human at all. However, what was even more shocking was what happened next. Bai Yeshing was still holding on, and he was smiling calmly at her. This kind of smile, however, was even more frightening than gnashing his teeth. The man's heart shuddered, but Bai Yeshing was already charging at him. The man raised the broken sword and slashed madly, cutting Bai Yeshing's flesh and sending bone fragments flying in all directions. But Bai Yeshing was unmoved, and his expression didn't even change. With a swoosh, he reached out and pulled out the two parts of the broken sword from his body, then turned and stabbed them into the enemy's heart. The man let out another inhuman howl, trying to fight back. But Bai Yeshing opened his mouth, rushed forward, and bit the man's throat with his white teeth. The man was still holding his broken sword, and he kept slashing at Bai Yeshing, trying to force him away. But Bai Yeshing held on fearlessly, refusing to let go no matter what, and kept biting off the man's neck. Blood gushed out of the man's throat as he stared at Bai Yeshing with fear in his eyes. Finally, his body went limp and fell to the ground. All of this happened in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a piece of flint. From start to finish, only a dozen breaths of time had passed. He attacked. It was an extreme tactic of perishing together with the enemy. He let go of the sword and added a spinning force to it, causing it to be knocked away. When the enemy's mystical chi was in a state of disorder, he would pounce on it, using a technique that surpassed martial arts to hold the enemy still, allowing him to be injured one after another. Then, he would hold on until the sword flew back and pierced through the enemy as well as himself. Then he would use his own flesh and bones to break the sword and stab the enemy at close range. The final killing move was to bite the enemy's throat until it was broken. This series of changes happened right in front of everyone's eyes, and it was completely out of everyone's expectations. It was filled with blood and extreme. It was only at this moment that the profound beast that had flown out inexplicably rushed back. It had only been a few dozen breaths of time since it had left. And in that short time, its master was dead. Although the disciple of Beast Trainer sect was dead, Bai Yeshing's condition was not much better. Not only was he bathed in blood, but he had lost an arm, which was the result of the disciple's counterattack. His remaining right hand, however, had produced a sword from his spatial ring. Holding it in his hand, he charged at the mystical beast without saying a word. Bai Yeshing knew that he was seriously injured and could not fight again, but such an extreme tactic was to kill the disciple of Beast Trainer sect as soon as possible, and then fight the mystical beast again, avoiding the situation where he was attacked from both sides. Now that his plan had been achieved, how could he not muster up any more strength and fight desperately for victory? The mystical beast, which had just gotten the upper hand, was shocked to see its master dead. Shocked, it leaned to the side, dodged the sword, and then bit down on half of Bai Yeshing's body. But it was a move that Bai Yeshing had deliberately given up. Bai Yeshing had his own assessment of his current situation. He knew that he could no longer fight the mystical beast for a long time, so he had to take the risk. So he let his body creak under the beast's bite. Greedy for victory, he swung the sword in his right hand and cut off both of the mystical beast's legs, then stabbed it into its chest. The mystical beast roared and tried to flee, but with its legs broken, it could not move as fast as usual. Bai Yeshing rushed up to it and slashed again with the sword. The beast's ferocity exploded, and it counterattacked, biting off Bai Yeshing's right hand, but the sword had also cut off one of its front claws. At this point in the battle, Bai Yeshing should have lost both of his arms, but as the mystical beast was tearing at him, he did not give up. Using the same method, he twisted his head and bit down on the mystical beast's throat. At the same time, he kicked and kneed the wounds on the mystical beast's body with his legs. The mystical beast, whose ferocity had been stimulated, was shocked by Bai Yeshing's crazy behavior and subdued. Although it managed to break free from Bai Yeshing's grip, it hopped desperately away from him with only one front leg, not daring to come any closer. Its eyes were filled with fear. It had never seen such a ferocious human being before. How can he be so terrifying? Who is the mystical beast? Chapter 1099. At this point, Bai Yeshing's body was basically covered in wounds. Both of his arms were gone, and blood was gushing out of them. The loss of blood alone was enough to kill a man, but he did not make a sound from beginning to end. Instead, he continued to press fiercely toward the mystical beast. The mystical beast whimpered and dodged, but it only had one front leg left, so it could not jump easily. Gradually, Bai Yeshing forced it into a corner, and finally, it began to fight back. With both of his arms crippled, Bai Yeshing could no longer use his mystical energy to attack, but he desperately rushed forward and sent his body into the mystical beast's mouth. Then, he tilted his head and bit the beast with his bloody teeth. "Come and bite me? I'll bite you." Then, he continued to kick with his legs. This time the mystical beast was really frightened. With the last of its strength, It flung Bai Yeshing to one side, then retreated to the other side, where it lay on the ground shivering. The fear in its eyes grew stronger, and it could not be concealed. It wanted nothing more than to escape from the battlefield. Bai Yeshing got to his feet again and rushed toward the mystical beast. Everyone could see that he was now an arrow at the end of its flight, and probably only had one last breath left. Even the current charge was probably just a pose. Although the mystical beast was also seriously injured, it still had the strength to fight back. The fact that it could fling Bai Yeshing away just now had already proved this. Now, all it needed was a charge to completely knock Bai Yeshing down. However, the black lion mystical beast, which had always been known for its ferocity and violence, could only whimper now. As Bai Yeshing approached again, it quickly turned around, tucked its tail between its legs, and scrambled away from the battlefield with its only leg. Everyone sighed. But it was not a sigh of pity, but an appreciation from the bottom of their hearts. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Residence of Nine Supremes was bound to lose in this battle, and there was no chance of winning. But it was this impossible battle that had allowed this disciple to change the outcome of the battle. He had forcibly reversed fate. Bai Yeshing seemed to want to perish together with his opponent, but his opponent knew that he had the upper hand, and was naturally unwilling to fight him. From the very beginning, it was entirely Bai Yeshing who dominated the battle. You wanna hide? I'll fight harder. Forcing you to fight. He was risking his life in the most extreme way. He was really risking his life to fight, to gamble, to try. In this battle, Bai Yeshing had truly engraved the word ferocious into his bones. Every move, every style, every movement was a desperate struggle. Just the sound of death itself was enough to steal people's hearts and souls, and no one could compare. It was also because of this fierceness that he completely suppressed the other party in terms of aura. In a battle between two people, one's cultivation base was important, but so was one's fighting spirit and momentum. Once one's momentum was at a disadvantage, one would almost certainly lose. Bai Yeshing, on the other hand, persisted in carrying out his fierceness, completely suppressing his enemy and killing him. Again, if he could not kill his opponent before the mystical beasts returned, he would be attacked from both sides, and there would be no room for negotiation. Then he turned to fight the mystical beasts. Given his physical condition at that time, it could be said that he had no chance of winning, but he still persisted in the same tactics, continuing to use his fierceness to the extreme, exchanging blows with the mystical beasts. Relying on the fact that he was 2 grades higher than the mystical beasts, he used his body, which was on the verge of collapse, to launch the most extreme and bloody hand-to-hand combat with the mystical beasts. Once again, it was a competition of fierceness, and viciousness. This fierce momentum scared the mystical beasts so much that they did not dare to fight after being seriously injured, and they abandoned the battle and fled. Although mystical beasts were known for their strength, they were still beasts, and they could not escape the instinctive fear of stronger and more vicious existences. And the foundation of this victory was no longer a battle between ordinary warriors. It was purely a battle of courage and mentality. Against people, it was psychological warfare. Against mystical beasts, it was psychological warfare. If he could kill them, he would kill them as soon as possible. And if he couldn't, even if he couldn't kill them, he would scare them to death. Or, it could be said that Bai Yeshing's opponents and his opponent's mystical beasts were completely defeated by his extreme tactics. From the beginning to the end, from the moment Bai Yeshing fought until now, Bai Yeshing had never spoken a word. There was not a single scream or grunt. Even his expression hadn't changed at all. His eyes had always been calm and indifferent. It was as if the wounds on his body were all on someone else's body, and he did not feel anything at all. Even now, when the outcome of the battle had been decided, he still did not speak. He just stood there, waiting for the result to be announced. His indifference sent a chill down the spines of all the onlookers. He was not afraid of a ferocious enemy, nor was he afraid of a monstrous aura, nor was he afraid of any sinister spirits. However, the ferocity hidden under this infinite calmness was enough to send a chill down anyone's spine. Residence of Nine Supremes wins. When Bai Yeshing finally heard the words, he breathed a sigh of relief. Then he could not move, Not even a little finger. He was out of breath, covered in wounds, and had lost a lot of blood. With so many negative statuses on him, it was already a miracle that he could hold on until now. Everyone saw that his body, which was as straight as a spear, did not move at all. There was only a gratified smile on his blood-stained face, and he murmured something silently. Then his body froze. Yin Yang's heart skipped a beat. Bai Yexing's last words were, "Residence of 9 Supremes never stops." All the onlookers, including Qin Ruogu, were convinced of their defeat and had nothing to say. With such a disciple, it would be strange if the opponent did not win. Everyone had one life, the same bones, the same flesh and blood, the same internal organs, the same brain, and the same thoughts. If one did not dare to fight, but the opponent did, then one would lose. What was the purpose of fighting for the celestial fortune? It was nothing more than to fight for one's pride. There was nothing else. Since the opponent dared to die and risk his life, he was destined to have more chances than the onlookers. It was because the onlookers did not dare to. Qin Ruogu heaved a long sigh, then turned to Yin Yang and said, "Sect leader Yin, Beast Trainer Sect is convinced of our defeat in this match." Yin Yang was visibly moved as he said softly, "I wanted to say thank you for letting me win. But at this moment, it's hard for me to say such courteous words. We've won this battle gloriously, so I won't be so courteous anymore." Qin Ruogu sighed enviously and said, "Sect leader Yin, you should be proud and glorious. With such an excellent disciple, Residence of 9 Supremes deserves the celestial luck banner." At this moment, even Hui Yinfeng, who was on the high platform, had a look of mixed emotions on his face. He was so shocked by the match that he could not recover from it for a long time. And he even forgot the supreme-grade spiritual jade that he had been worrying about. It's worth it to lose the supreme-grade spiritual jade to such a person. Chapter 1100. With a flash of light, the 2 men and 1 beast in the field recovered. Bai Yexing had returned to his snow-white robe. His body had been reconstructed, and his condition was completely restored. His face was calm, and his eyes were calm as he stood there. On the other side, the disciples of Beast Trainer Sect looked at him, as if they were looking at a ferocious ghost, their eyes full of horror. As for the mystical beast, it dared not look at Bai Yexing at all. When it glanced at him, it whimpered and hurriedly lowered its head, not daring to look at the calm face again. Bai Yexing's battle had frightened both the man and the beast out of their wits, and they were terrified. "Sect leader, master, uncle masters, this disciple has accomplished his mission and won the match." Bai Yexing came up to report. Kong Luoyue looked gratified and proud, while the others were full of praise. "Not bad. Not bad at all." Yin Yang praised heavily. "Yexing, your performance in this battle is too outstanding. No one in the first generation of disciples can be better than you in this battle alone. Luoyue, you didn't take this disciple for nothing." Kong Luoyue smiled and said modestly, "Don't praise him like that, boss. Yexing still needs to improve. Don't spoil him." Shi Wuchen and the others looked askance at Kong Luoyue, suddenly wanting to beat him up. Could he be any more pretentious and smug? Yin Yang smiled. "I'm not praising him just because he won the match. It's because this battle should have been Xiuxin's. Even if Xiuxin wasn't the one to fight, I would have chosen Mingxiu." In addition to clearly predicting the difference in strength between the 2 sides, Yexing also knew Xiuxin's natural weakness as a girl. If he really fought with her in this fierce battle, winning or losing is not important, but mental trauma is inevitable. That's why he stepped forward. This is especially praiseworthy. Yin Yang glanced at Yin Xiuxin and said, "In terms of the cultivation base of all the disciples, although Xiuxin defeated Yexing in the match, if she were the one to fight, she would definitely lose." On this point, everyone nodded their heads repeatedly, and no one questioned it. Even Yin Xiuxin, who had always been proud and arrogant, lowered her head. She knew that her master was right. If she were the one to fight in this battle, not only did he lose, but he was afraid that he would fall into the fear of being devoured by the vicious beasts for a long time. Just by looking at everything that happened in the arena from the sidelines, that kind of ruthlessness was something that he definitely could not bring out. Even if he did, he would definitely not have such an imposing manner. And the victory of this battle lay in this momentum, because no matter what, his strength could not compare to the other party. Sun Mingxiu was also calculating in his heart. If he were to fight this battle, no matter how calm and careful he was at most, he would only be able to achieve a result where both sides would suffer. To win was absolutely impossible. Bai Yexing was still indifferent as he said, "Sect leader, you flatter me." Yin Yang smiled and gave Bai Yexing a deep look. Bai Yexing did not negotiate with the mystical beasts, nor did he use the bead he had given him. Instead, he had found another way to win the battle. His quick-wittedness was also worthy of praise. That was because in the disciple battle, if he were to use the pearl to tempt such a combination of Xian beasts, it would probably not be of much use. The battle had been over for a while, but the crowd had yet to recover from the shock. A figure had been lingering in front of them, fighting and struggling with all the means and strength he had. Even when his bones were shattered, he did not care at all, and his expression remained indifferent from the beginning to the end. Indifference. Indifference. Whether it was to people, to things, to himself, or to everything in this world, he did not care at all. It was common knowledge that basically everyone could accept the way of death, like being beheaded with a single slash. After all, one would no longer feel anything after the slash, so it did not matter whether one accepted it or not. However, in the process of fighting, he had beaten his own body to a pulp, broken more than 50% of his bones, and not a single part of his body was not injured. But he still persisted in fighting without making a sound. Such a ruthless person was rare in the world. Death was the end of everything. These words weren't just empty words. Once one became impermanent, everything would be over. However, if one's body and mind were to fight in such an environment of unbearable pain, that was secondary. Who could guarantee that the expression on one's face wouldn't change? Therefore, everyone looked at Bai Yexing with inexplicable admiration in their eyes, including many high-level warriors. At this moment, everyone knew that there was a real man of steel in this world. This person, even if you caught him, no matter how you tortured him, even if you smashed all of his bones into pieces, he would definitely not say a word. Everyone was sure that Bai Yexing could do this. There was no doubt about it. After a long while, Hui Yinfeng cleared his throat and said, "The next match is the match of sect leaders." Yin Yang and Qin Ruogu exchanged a glance and rose to their feet at the same time. Sect leader Yin, Beast Trainer sect has our own unique means. Although they are not worthy of the Fang clan's attention, they do have some power. "You must be careful," said Qin Ruogu. Yin Yang smiled faintly and said casually, "Sect leader Qin, the residence of 9 Supremes has never lacked trump cards. This has been reflected in the Celestial Luck Banner contest. We've been performing all the time, and it seems like we've never been surpassed." Qin Ruoga chuckled, flicked his sleeve, and was the first to leave the arena. Yin Yang's purple robe fluttered in the wind, as if he was strolling on clouds as he followed behind. The two of them left the arena together. One had a solemn face, gray hair, and a grave look in his eyes, and it was obvious that he was about to do something important. The other, on the other hand, looked relaxed, tall and slender, and strolled leisurely as if he was going for an outing. This was already an abnormally obvious contrast. Even the people of Beast Trainer sect could see it, but Qin Ruogu, the sect leader, did not notice it at all. Perhaps he was too immersed in the situation to notice it, or perhaps he was too concerned about the match. After all, it was related to the last face of Beast Trainer sect, and he could not afford to lose it. He did not have the energy to worry about other trivial matters. In fact, the only thing that concerned him at the moment was Yin Yang's amazing strength, which was at least 1 level stronger than his, and it was not impossible for him to be 2 or 3 levels stronger. After all, the strength that Luo Dajiang had shown was stronger than the last time. Who knew if Yin Yang, the leader of Residence of 9 Supremes, did not hide his true strength? In that case, the only thing he could rely on was the divine beast of his sect. Speaking of this divine beast of the Imperial Beast sect, it probably had a great background. It had already existed in the Imperial Beast sect for 4,300 years. Just this age alone was quite impressive. However, it was true that the divine beast was strong, but its temperament was eccentric, making it very difficult to control. If it were not for the fact that he had no other choice, Chin Ruogu really did not want to use this trump card that he had been hiding for a long time. The fate of the whole sect is on you. Please don't make any more trouble. Chin Ruogu prayed in his heart. Chapter 1101. Thinking of the exchange with the divine beast last night, Chin Ruogu felt more or less relieved. The two men stood still in the field. They were facing each other, but not as close as they were in the previous battles. After Chin Ruogu stood still, he instinctively felt that it was not safe enough, so he moved back another 200 feet. Now there was a distance of 400 feet between them. The distance surprised Yun Yang. Sect leader Chin, are you not ready? As he spoke, he could not help taking a step forward. Wait! Chin Ruogu stopped him from getting any closer, and explained amiably. My role in this battle is only to supervise the battle. In other words, as long as you can defeat my mystical beast, it will be your victory. Oh, Yin Yang asked. Mystical beast? Do I need to fight a mystical beast? Almost subconsciously, he dispersed his mystical chi and activated the endless divine art, which was rarely used in actual combat. An ancient bracelet appeared in Chin Ruogu's hand, and he gently stroked it. Then he began to murmur something. A bright light flashed, and a mountain suddenly appeared in the field. It was a black mountain. Everyone was startled, and when they looked carefully, they found that the black mountain was actually a bear. It was a huge black bear. There was not a single strand of hair on its body, and its whole body was pitch black. Its body was as tall as 250 feet, and its paw alone was almost the size of an ordinary house. Standing there, it looked like a small hill. When the black bear appeared in the field, it raised its huge paw and rubbed its eyes in a daze, then opened its mouth, revealing its fangs that were about 10 feet long, and yawned. Then, it turned its head and gave Chin Ruogu a dissatisfied look. Obviously, this bear was not fully awake yet. Sacred King Bear, our opponent is right in front of you now. Chin Ruogu bowed and said, you only need to defeat him, and we'll win. After that, you can sleep as long as you want. At least we won't disturb you for a long time. The black bear dug his nose and scooped out a blob of mucus the size of a wash basin. He flicked it away and tilted his head to look at Yun Yang before he proceeded to dig his other nostril. Then, another lump of glistening yellow stuff bounced out, and he raised his head and sneezed. He sniffed and finally faced Yun Yang with a snort when he felt that he was satisfied and comfortable. Yun Yang had already cultivated the endless divine art to its maximum, standing on the other side with a smile on his face as he looked at the black bear. With Yin Yang's fondness for beauty, he was naturally a little obsessed with cleanliness. However, facing such a sloppy black bear, his eyes were filled with joy. It was because deep in Yin Yang's eyes, there was a deep nostalgia. He remembered, not too long ago, that adorable little bear. Now I don't know how the two of you are in that forest. If there's a chance, I'll definitely visit you guys in the future. You guys must wait for me, wait for my return. The black bear snorted again, then suddenly opened its mouth and spoke in a thunderous voice. Little fellow, are you the enemy of Beast Trainer sect? Many sects who did not know what was going on, including Yun Yang and his companions, were all startled by the loud voice. Without exception. F*CK. This bear can actually speak human language? Is it still a F*King Bear? Is it a man in a bear's skin in disguise? But on second thought, he still felt that it was not right. How could a man have such a body size? After a moment of shock, Yin Yang was overjoyed. It can speak. That's even easier. Compared to his cultivation base, strength, and all his trump cards, Yin Yang was quite confident in his ability to talk. As long as he used it well, it meant that he could communicate well, and he could defeat any enemy with just his mouth. The black bear stared at Yin Yang with its huge eyes, obviously not knowing why the kid in front of it was so happy. Shouldn't you be peeing your pants when you see me? Yin Yang smiled. This battle of the celestial luck banners is just a difference of ranking between sects with celestial luck banners. How can we be considered enemies? Since Senior Bear King has come out, why don't you enjoy the scenery and have some fun outside? If you can make friends along the way, it'll be good for both you and others. The black bear snorted and looked at the little fellow in purple. The more it looked at him, the more it felt like, this little fellow. Why does it feel so familiar? It smells so good. The black bear was not the only one who had this feeling. In the past, the 1,000 illusion monkey that Jilingxi had carefully served for more than 3 months, the mystical beasts that the 4 young masters had asked for training, Reddy, the Niello bear, the Moar python, and even the 5 whiteys that had been in Yun Yang's memory. Too many mystical beasts had fallen for this feeling. Yes, there was also the mystical beast that had been ignored in the previous battle. If it had not left for some reason at the beginning of the battle, Bai Yexing would still not have been able to escape the predicament of being attacked from both sides. No matter how fierce and wild he was, there was always a limit to his strength, and he would still be defeated. Could the black bear be an exception now? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The black bear could not help sniffling a few more times, the suspicion in his eyes growing stronger. Yun Yang laughed and floated up to a distance of 200 feet away. Standing only 30 to 40 feet away from the bear, he raised his head and said, "Your Excellency Bear King is truly awe-inspiring and admirable." The black panda's face immediately revealed a proud look, and he said very reservedly, "Just so." He could not help sniffing again. "What is that smell?" "No, no, no. This is the first time I've seen such a mighty Bear King. I was really shocked when I saw it just now. The so-called top-notch mystical beasts are at most like you, Senior," Yun Yang said sincerely. Receiving Yun Yang's close greeting and being flattered by a certain someone, the King of Bear felt more and more comfortable. His eyes narrowed as he said, "Actually, although this King of Bear is ferocious and has a profound cultivation base, what's rarer is that this King of Bear's handsomeness is rare." Yun Yang looked at the black mountain of flesh and used the limits of his imagination to take another look, but he still could not see how this big fellow was handsome. He laughed and said, "Senior is still too modest. At least among the many bear brothers I've seen, no one is more handsome than Senior Bear King. It's rare to see someone who's even 60 to 70% as handsome as Senior." "Well, I haven't seen many beasts of the bear family, compared to the mini Niello bear, and the even more stupid myriad gold bear. The black bear king in front of me is indeed more outstanding." He was probably lying. At least Yin Yang thought so. The black bear burst into laughter. His voice was so deep that it made the ears of the onlookers tremble. Qin Ruoga grew anxious and cried out, "Bear Saint King, this man in front of you is your opponent." The black bear snorted discontentedly and looked down at Yun Yang. The more he looked at him, the more he felt that this man was clearly a good man. Not only did he have a keen eye, but he also spoke the truth. It was a real and indescribable sense of intimacy. It was so intimate that he almost thought that this man was his blood brother. What was going on? Chapter 1102. "Boy, you're too short. It's really inconvenient to talk to you," the black bear said, expressing his heartfelt dissatisfaction at his current state of looking down at Yun Yang. "I don't want to do this either," Yun Yang said with a smile. "I don't have Senior's ability to change his size at will. But I don't have Senior's ability to change his size at will. What can I do?" The black bear thought it made sense, so he said, "It's fine if you grow bigger, but I'll just shrink. It's too tiring to talk like this now." As he spoke, his body suddenly shrunk a size, then shrunk another size, and then another breath. Qin Ruogu was so anxious that his eyebrows were almost on fire. "How did you make friends with me? Didn't you promise to come out and fight? This is different from what we agreed last night." "This, Bear Saint King," Qin Ruogu cried out. "Shut up, boy. I know what I'm doing." The black bear turned and gave Qin Ruogu a fierce look. "Don't spoil my mood." Qin Ruogu, who had stopped talking, was speechless. As the black bear shrunk smaller and smaller, he could sense Yun Yang's aura more clearly. It was not covetousness, but a sense of intimacy that came from the bottom of his heart. Finally, a charmingly naive, medium-sized black bear appeared in front of Yun Yang. He was as tall as Yun Yang, with chubby arms, legs, neck, and mouth. In any case, Yun Yang still could not tell what was so handsome about him. Could there be such a huge gap between the beauty standards of a bear's eyes and that of a human's? It's okay now, the black bear said casually. What's your name? Do you have wine with you? Wine? Yun Yang was taken aback. This bear actually wants to drink wine? It's a compliment to say that you're humanized. But don't you think you're a little too humanized? Are you really not a man in a bear's skin? Of course I do. Not only wine, but also food. I'll feed you until you're full. Why don't you take it out now? How can we not get drunk when brothers meet? As soon as the black bear opened his mouth, a large clump of saliva dripped down, and more dripped down endlessly. When I think of wine, my mouth. I've forgotten myself. Black Bear wiped his mouth and laughed at himself. Bear Saint King. Chin Ruogu could not bear it any longer. He caught up with him from behind and said, I asked you to come here to fight. Don't forget that this battle concerns the glory of our sect for thousands of years. What's the point of drinking? The motherfucker sect. The black bear exploded. Try calling me the motherfucker sect again. Drinking is the most important thing now. Do you know what is important? Chin Ruogu was struck dumb and dared not say a word. When it came to high-level Xian beasts, the beast control sect was the most hated sect. That was a good thing. But once they were tamed, they would become one of their own. How could they still hate them? This was especially true for a divine beast that had been in the beast-controlling sect for thousands of years. Shouldn't it be used to it? Why, Senior Bear Saint King? I hope you will abide by the spirit of the contract. Chin Ruogu began to play the emotional card. If it were not necessary, I wouldn't use the contract to restrain you, but this battle. The black bear rolled his eyes and grinned. Why don't you try using the contract? Chin Ruogu was speechless. The black bear was very annoyed by Chin Ruogu's attitude. He grabbed the jar of wine Yun Yang took out, slapped open the clay seal, threw his head back, and began to gulp down the wine. Then bang, the wine jar shattered. However, the inside was as dry as if it had been in the desert for 1,000 years. There was not a single drop of water leaking out. Good wine. King good wine. The black bear snorted. You've been deceiving me for thousands of years. And you still want to keep it up. Yun Yang knew that there was a change in the situation, so he decided to watch from the sidelines for now. As he brought out the large plates of dishes, he played the role of a good companion. Senior Bear King, come. You must try this dish. It tastes great. The black bear patted Yun Yang on the shoulder and said, You're good, really good. Suddenly, he burst into laughter and said cheerfully, I've been in this world for thousands of years, and so far, you're the first person who dares to let me pat you on the shoulder. Ha ha ha. You're good, really good. Then he patted Yun Yang's shoulder again and said, Good, very good. Yun Yang suddenly felt a pang of discomfort. Has this black bear never enjoyed the feeling of being trusted, even a little in his life? But is it really good to show such kindness when we first meet? In the beginning, my plan was to kill you when you were bewitched and became smaller. But now that you're treating me like this, my conscience is a little uneasy. The black bear kept his body to a medium size, but his mouth grew bigger all of a sudden. He picked up 2 plates of dishes and poured them into his mouth, then drank 2 more jars of wine. After that, he exhaled deeply with a look of nostalgia in his eyes. The wine is good, and you're a good person. I'll fight with you after we finish drinking. You don't mind, do you? I did promise that child over there. It's not good to go back on my word. The black bear asked politely. No, I don't mind. A man's words must be kept, and a man who doesn't keep his word can't stand. Yun Yang said, We're friends, it's not worth minding such a small matter. The black bear was delighted. Good. Suddenly, he opened his mouth wide and came over, biting Yun Yang directly. Facing this sudden change, Yun Yang did not move at all. He was still taking out the wine and dishes. Not even his expression changed. The black bear's large nose sniffed Yun Yang's body. After a long time, he retracted his head with an intoxicated expression, his gaze looking at Yun Yang more affectionately now. Obviously, Yun Yang had his own definition of the word friend. Once he had decided on a friend, he would be filled with trust. Yun Yang's action of not moving in the face of danger had increased the black bear's fondness for him. If his previous recognition of Yun Yang was an inexplicable fondness, then it was now a trust towards a friend, even a brotherly bond. It's been thousands of years since the old man who lied to me died. Today is the happiest day I've ever had. The black bear's gaze was actually overflowing with melancholy. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, how could he believe that a bear, a mystical beast, could have such emotions in its eyes? Yun Yang did not speak. He could not interrupt the bear's recollection at this juncture. Whether it was a human or a mystical beast, memory had always been the most precious treasure. It was not to be desecrated. The black bear drank another pot of wine, his gaze becoming more and more misty. Before the old man died, he asked me to help him protect his sect, to protect his disciples and grand-disciples, so that no one could bully them. So many years have passed, I almost can't even remember what the old man looked like. Only this request. Oh, F***King hell. Remember the mobile version of the website. Chapter 225. Be a friend, page 1/1. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 1103. Black Bear scolded. None of the brats from this stupid sect are stupid. They don't play ball with me. They don't give me honey. And they don't find monkeys to play with. They don't even let me leave. They only think of me when something happens to them and they can't deal with it. There are always many things in life that are beyond our control, and we can't bear to look back on the past. Yun Yang sighed. The black bear's eyes lit up. That's right. That's right. I didn't think of it just now. But senior, you've been living a miserable life all these years. When Yun Yang said that, he deliberately released a wisp of the chi of origin of life. After all, the intention of Yin Yang's words to sow discord was rather obvious. The Black Bear King's human-like behavior was rather obvious. Judging from the human-like behavior of the black bear, it was reasonable for him to turn hostile immediately. With the addition of the chi of origin of life, Yun Yang would naturally have more leeway. But Yin Yang's concern was unfounded. The black bear sighed, as if he had found a bosom friend. It's not just miserable, it's like I'm in prison. The last time this old man came out was probably more than 300 years ago. This bunch of black-hearted turtle eggs. Come, let's drink. Come, let's eat. Come. All around them, the crowd looked at the man and the bear, eating and drinking to their heart's content. They were all dumbfounded. What are they doing? Aren't you going to fight? Why are you eating and drinking now? Are you going to have a drinking competition to see who can drink more? Or are you going to have a competition to see who can eat more? Then they looked at Chin Ruogu, who was standing beside them like a fool. He did not even dare to approach them, let alone urge them. His face was filled with hesitation, shame, anger, and embarrassment. Who is the sect leader of Beast Trainer sect? Is it Yin Yang? It's all upside down. Chin Ruogu, you've just confidently put on the airs of an expert and released your mystical beast to duel with someone. But in the end, the mystical beast made a high-profile appearance and went out to drink with someone. As the sect leader, do you feel embarrassed or not? Could he be any more embarrassed? Yun Yang continued to circulate the endless divine art, and the area of effect gradually expanded. The expression on the black bear's face became more and more relaxed. In the end, it simply lay down on the ground, prostrating on the ground with only its mouth sticking out to eat and drink. It rolled around comfortably. The black bear did not mind exposing the most vulnerable part of a mystical beast, its belly, in front of Yun Yang. It drank the wine and ate the meat, reminiscing about the past. It was so satisfied that it was about to fall asleep. Chin Ruogu, on the other hand, broke out in a cold sweat, and soon, his clothes were soaked with sweat. The maximum strength that Luo Dajiang had displayed was already at the level of a Saint King, and Yun Yang, who had displayed a strength that was even higher than that, had to be close to the level of a Saint King, even if his maximum strength was slightly weaker. What if he had a divine weapon in his hand and used it on you? Then, everything would be over. But he didn't dare to remind him. The black bear pretended not to hear him, and when he reminded him again, the black bear directly slapped him. His heart was tired. It was really tiring. That was the only feeling that Chin Ruoga had now. On the spectator stand, the people from Beast Trainer sect were also dumbfounded by the current situation. Is this still a fight? Please forgive my ignorance, I really can't see it. On the other hand, Yun Yang was still talking incessantly, and he had already reached the point where he said, "If you're not happy, you can live somewhere else." Chin Ruoga was about to go crazy. Is he trying to poach me? How could he be so brazen? Could he be any more deranged? No. The black bear was a man of principle. Senior Bear King, if you're willing. Yun Yang changed to a voice transmission. You can go to the residence of 9 Supremes after today, and I'll help you transform. The black bear sat up and stared at Yun Yang with his big round eyes. Are you serious? Generally, when a mystical beast's cultivation base reaches the level of Beast King, the first thing they do is to transform. Poor me, I'm already a Saint King, but I still can't transform. When he asked this question, everyone heard it. Chin Ruogu could only cry in his heart. This is bad. This is bad. What are you talking about? What do you mean by for real? Good heavens. I'm so bored and worried. With a faint smile on his face, Yun Yang slightly opened a gap in his divine sense space, and a peculiar aura immediately emerged. Although Yun Yang immediately closed it, the black bear had already jumped to his feet and stared at Yun Yang with his big eyes full of pleasant surprise. Yun Yang raised the wine jar and said, "We are friends." His words were sincere and meaningful. Yes. The black bear replied happily, "We're good friends. Ha ha ha." At this point, the black bear's attitude had changed subtly again. Although he had behaved amiably before, there was always a sense of condescension in his tone. But now, he was no longer so. Yun Yang put down the wine jar and said solemnly, "Since I've gained Brother Bear's approval, everything is negotiable. After this battle is over, you can come to me at any time to solve the problem, and I'll make sure Brother Bear gets what you want. I believe Brother Bear understands that I mean what I said, and I have the ability to do it." Then, a rumbling sound rang through heaven and earth. It was an oath made by the heavenly Tao. The black bear was so touched that his eyes turned red. I don't have much time left, only a few thousand years at most. If I don't transform, I won't have the chance anymore. Unexpectedly, I met a good person here. This was a vow to heaven's way. This brother was too honest. Otherwise, how could he have such a pleasant smell? Brother Bear, our agreement is a promise, but we still have to do what we should do later. When the battle comes later, I won't be merciful just because we hit it off. I hope Brother Bear can understand this. Yun Yang said solemnly, "Our residence of 9 Supremes will lose everything if we lose. So I can't be merciful. If I hurt Brother Bear, please don't be offended." The black bear waved his paw and said, No. We are friends." If Yun Yang had said this before the vow to heaven's way, the result would have been the opposite, and it would have triggered the black bear's negative emotions. However, it was said after the vow to heaven's way, so the effect was very different. Whether we win or lose in this battle, I'll help Brother Bear to get rid of the shackles. So I hope Brother Bear can do your best and not humiliate this battle," Yun Yang said seriously. Yun Yang's face was full of righteousness. Struck by Yun Yang's palm, the black bear's mountain-like body was flung off the ground, flying no less than 500 to 600 feet away. It landed on the ground with a loud thud, shaking the ground. A certain bear struggled on the ground and suddenly twitched. He shouted, "What a powerful palm technique! I was actually knocked unconscious." Before he could finish his sentence, he twitched again, and then stopped moving. There was dead silence. Chin Ruogu, who was standing aside, was struck dumb. Although he had expected this, it was still too much. In fact, he was not the only one who was struck dumb. Everyone present, including Hui Yunfeng and the other deacons of the sacred palace, was struck dumb. What the F***ck? I can't believe someone can do this. Everyone, including Yun Yang, the culprit, was speechless. This is too fake. Can't you be a little more careful? How could you say something like, I was knocked unconscious? Don't tell me you're not knocked unconscious if you don't say that. Are you afraid that others can't tell you're faking it? No, that's not the point. Hua Yinfeng felt his heart trembling, and his eyeballs were hanging out of his eye sockets. What the F***ck? Is this even possible? What the hell is this? Or did I run into a ghost? How could this happen? I've raised a mystical beast for thousands of years, but it turned against me at the last minute because of a drink, and it even took the initiative to help the enemy. This is the first time I've seen something like this in all my life. This is really an eye-opener. Beast Trainer Sect really deserves its reputation. They're really good at training beasts. If you lose, you'll just be demoted. But if I lose, I'll have to pay another 200 Supreme Grade Spiritual Jade. That's 200 Supreme Grade Spiritual Jade. My net worth has shrunk greatly now, and now I've lost 200 Supreme Grade Spiritual Jade. Hua Yinfeng was filled with grief and indignation, and he found that he had fallen into the same trap 3 times in a row. Well, I must learn to be a good boy in the future. As long as Residents of 9 Supremes fight someone else, I'll bet on Residents of 9 Supremes, even if I'm far from them. At this point, a lifelong fan of Residents of 9 Supremes was quietly born. Residents of 9 Supremes wins, Hua Yinfeng announced with a straight face. Surprisingly, Qin Ruoga's expression turned calm, and he was no longer as dazed as before. Lost? That's normal. It would be abnormal if they won in this situation. I must be stupid to bring this black bear to fight. I should have known. Qin Ruoga was, after all, the sect leader of a sect. He knew how to judge the situation and weigh the pros and cons. Without saying a word, he slowly walked up to the black bear and took out the quaint bracelet. I'll go back myself. The black bear resisted. I'm not going in. Roar. Qin Ruoga's face darkened. But, no buts. The black bear was furious. You're going to put me in this bracelet in front of my friends. What the F***ck are you up to? Are you trying to embarrass me? Don't even think about it. Qin Ruoga was speechless. This broken bracelet can no longer hold me. Do you know that? The black bear sniffled. If it weren't for the fact that I could sleep comfortably in it, and that I'm giving face to your ancestor, and keeping the old promise, I would have broken this broken bracelet. Qin Ruoga was speechless. Anyway, I'm not going in. Try touching me. With a dark face, Qin Ruoga began to recite an incantation. Obviously, he had made up his mind. The black bear was Beast Trainer Sect's greatest trump card, a strategic weapon. Even if he did not show up in battle, his deterrent power was still there. But if he poached him, the sect's overall strength would drop by more than 2 levels, and they would even lose the qualification to stay among the sects with celestial luck banners. Qin Ruoga had made up his mind to go to the extreme. He firmly believed that the forbidden bracelet in his hand could subdue the black bear. And he was even more convinced that his decision was right. The black bear crossed his arms and looked at Qin Ruoga calmly. Recite it again. I won't go in even if you recite it 100 times. Qin Ruoga repeated the incantation a few times, but the black bear still crossed his arms and grinned coldly. The incantation had no effect at all. Chapter 1105. Are you going to go back on your promise, Bear Saint King? Qin Ruoga tried several times, but to no avail, so he resorted to a softer strategy. Black Bear snorted. This king hasn't forgotten. This king is the one who keeps his promises the most, but this king is about to completely fulfill his original promise. Qin Ruoga's eyes went wide with disbelief. What? You? The black bear snorted and suddenly stood up, flying to the stands of the beast-controlling sect. He thumped his chest with his 2 huge paws and roared. I'm about to transform, roar, roar, roar. Upon hearing the black bear's words, the faces of everyone in Beast Trainer Sect turned ashen. When you transform into a human, you will regain your freedom, the founder of Beast Trainer Sect said to Bear King. And it was also Bear King's promise to Beast Trainer Sect. When Bear King transformed one day, he would no longer have anything to do with Beast Trainer Sect. Was that day finally coming? After losing 3 matches in a row, Beast Trainer Sect's momentum was gone. and it was confirmed that they had lost the 6th place among the lower-class celestial luck banners. All the people in Beast Trainer sect were in a daze, as if someone had suddenly pulled out their backbone and turned them into walking corpses. Thousands of years of glory had been destroyed in a moment, and they had become someone else's stepping stone. At this moment, Yu Zhangtai, the sect leader of Green Nether sect, who was ranked 5th, asked in a deafening voice, "May I ask if sect leader Yin is going to stop here, or continue the challenge?" It was the first time Yu Zhangtai had spoken, and he was asking about Yun Yang's ultimate goal. If Yun Yang and the residents of 9 Supremes were satisfied with the current middle-tier position of the lower-class celestial luck banner, there was no need for them to continue with the following battles. However, if they insisted on continuing to challenge, it would mean that they coveted a higher rank. Yin Yang smiled and said, "Of course the challenge will continue. So far, no sect or anyone has won any match of residents of 9 Supremes. Naturally, we can't stop here, or even we will look down on ourselves." "What do you say, sect leader Qin?" Yu Zhangtai asked. "Should we just admit defeat in the last 2 matches, or?" Yu Zhangtai's words were somewhat meaningful, and there was a hidden meaning in them. Qin Ruoga's eyes were bloodshot as he said hysterically, "Of course we're going to fight the 4th match. It won't be so easy for residents of 9 Supremes to pass our Beast Trainer sect with a complete victory." Yin Yang stared at him, the corners of his lips curling up in mockery as he said, "Sect leader Qin, your decision is still considered. Harming others without benefiting yourself." Qin Ruoga snorted, his face livid. As Yin Yang had said, what Qin Ruoga did was harming others without benefiting himself. Beast Trainer sect had lost 3 matches in a row. According to the rules of the match, which was to win 3 out of 5 matches, Beast Trainer sect's defeat was already a foregone conclusion. Even if they persisted in the 4th match, or even won it, it was still impossible for them to return to their original position. It would only hinder residents of 9 Supreme's progress, a typical case of harming others without benefiting themselves. But no matter what, Qin Ruoga had to fight this battle. Yin Yang had stolen his disciple right in front of him and destroyed Beast Trainer sect's strongest trump card. He could not swallow this. "Yin Yang, you've secretly colluded with Bear Saint King just now and played dirty tricks, causing us to lose without fighting. Although we've lost the match according to the rules, in our hearts, we haven't lost." Qin Ruoga said aloud, "If you win the 4th match, we'll give up the 5th match. However, in our hearts, the 4th match is the real deciding match. Beast Trainer sect will definitely defeat the residents of 9 Supremes." Many people from Beast Trainer sect nodded hard when they heard that. That's right. Yin Yang won the match just now in an inexplicable way. No one would believe that there was nothing fishy about it. How can we be convinced by such a result? Yin Yang laughed and said, "Then, how do you want to compete, sect leader Qin?" A ruthless look came over Qin Ruoga's eyes as he said, "The 4th match will be decided by a battle of mystical beasts." The crowd burst into an uproar as soon as his words rang out. A battle of mystical beasts? Beast Trainer sect is famous for raising mystical beasts, and it's normal for you to use them in battles. But residents of 9 Supremes is not such a sect. Where did they get their mystical beasts from? Qin Ruoga said, "I've already said that the 4th match will be a free-for-all match. According to the rules, I have the right to choose the way of the match. So we'll use the battle of mystical beasts as the mode of the match. Both sides will send out their mystical beasts, and let them fight it out in the arena. Sect leader Yin, you've won the 3rd match with the rules. Don't tell me you're going to break the rules in the 4th match? Sect leader Yin, please summon your mystical beasts." Qin Ruoga's words seemed to make sense. "You Yin Yang made a sneak attack in the match just now, seduced the Black Bear King, and won the match inexplicably. Now I've also countered you with the rules. What's there to complain about?" But all the people from residents of 9 Supremes, and even those from other sects, rolled their eyes. "Your argument doesn't hold water at all. Putting aside the fact that it's already very unethical of you to bring a divine beast into the match of sect leaders. Even if Yin Yang has seduced your mystical beasts, so what? If he has the ability to do so, it's because you're not good at controlling your beasts, and you don't have enough control over them. What does it have to do with yin-yang? You, on the other hand, did this out of exasperation because your disciple was poached. You're obviously trying to pester us endlessly, so what? It's a blatant act of bullying. How can you compete like this? Yin-yang doesn't have any mystical beasts at all, but you insist on competing with him in this. It was like a 300-catty fat man making a bet with a 70-catty skinny man, and the fat man said, "Let's compete in fat. Whoever has more fat will win." This was clearly acting shamelessly. It was a typical case of being shameless. Yin-yang was taken aback as well. Compete in mystical beasts? Qin Ruoga snorted and said darkly, "Please, sect leader Yin." Yin-yang's face was full of wonder. "If I don't have any mystical beasts, then you can just admit defeat," Qin Ruoga said indifferently. "Once you admit defeat, the battle between our two sects will come to an end, and there will be no need for the fifth match." Upon hearing that, Yin-yang's face seemed to turn bitter, and he was stunned for a moment. When Qin Ruoga saw Yin-yang's expression, the comfort in his heart skyrocketed. "Yin-yang, I didn't expect you to have such a day. Ha ha ha. Residence of 9 Supremes has many trump cards, and I'm not going too far. Why don't I give you one more victory? I'll only send out one king-level mystical beast. As long as you win, you'll advance to the next round." Before his voice could fade away, a beam of black light flashed, and in the next moment, a ferocious leopard 70 feet long appeared in the arena. It threw its head back and roared, wagged its tail, and bared its fangs. Yin-yang turned to look at Hua Yinfeng on the high platform. Obviously, he was asking for his opinion, or rather, he was implicitly asking for help. Hua Yinfeng sighed. Although he also despised Qin Ruoga's move, it was still within the rules, and it was allowed to happen. The fourth match, the Battle of Mystical Beasts. Hua Yinfeng's voice rang out slowly. This meant that what the beast-controlling sect had done was allowed by the rules, and was effective. Chapter 1106. He was drunk today. I've been sober for 12 days. I drank too much today. It wasn't because of anything, but because it had been too long. Then it was because he didn't feel like doing anything today. I just want to drink some wine. As for other things, *ck them. Being a man is tiring. He had to take care of his wife, children, father, mother, mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law and their children. As a man, if you don't earn money, everyone will scold you useless. As a man, you can't earn a single cent. When you make money, everyone comes to you. Give some money. It was too difficult for everyone. Difficult. It was really difficult. But, *ck. Once out, there was no coming back. In the dead of night, he asked himself, where did the money come from? He had been pulling all-nighters for more than 10 years, and at the age of 33, his hair had turned white by the time he was 33 years old. He wrote some words in exchange for some subscription money, and he was still one of the better off among his peers. If he lent it out, no one would return it. Why don't you try asking for money? You've earned so much and you're still asking for money. Are you even human? You earned so much, but your classmate died of poverty. Are you even human? You earned so much, but your colleagues die of poverty. Are you still human? You made so much money, but your friend's sister died in a car accident, and you didn't pay. Are you even human? You earned so much, but your comrade lost his business and went bankrupt, yet you only paid a few tens of thousands. Are you even human? Are you even human? Am I a human? I'm asking myself this question today. MLGB. Am I a human? I didn't let my wife down. I didn't let down my children. I didn't let down my parents. I didn't let down the social ethics, and I didn't let down the country. Am I still human? Don't you think so? It's because of you that I'm not human. I helped you. I'm human. If I don't help you, I'm not human. *ck. Humans living in this society, damn it. There was only one word for it. I've said it a million times. Some time ago someone asked me, if there is an afterlife, what would you choose? I said I will be a pig. I don't understand anything. After eating and drinking, I'm going to sleep. When are you going to kill me? I don't even know what this means. *King compete. Happiness. I feel that in this life, I've lived too much like a human. In my next life, I will be a pig, not even a human. Remember the mobile URL. I'll take a day off today. P1/1. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 1107. Everyone from the other sex was looking at Yun Yang, and the people of Residence of Nine Supremes, with a gloating look on their faces. Serves you right. Who asked you to show off? Who asked you to be invincible? Who asked you to be so arrogant? Haha, you've encountered an unsolvable problem, haven't you? Just admit defeat now, brother. Even if you can win the favor of this mystical beast in front of you, you can't turn into a mystical beast yourself, can you? Unless Residence of Nine Supremes really has another mystical beast to hold the line. Yun Yang was silent for a moment, as if weighing the pros and cons, and then said, Sect Leader Qin, you've really given me a big problem. The Master of Residence of Nine Supremes is indeed not the Master of Residence of Nine Supremes. However, since Sect Leader Qin has made such a generous offer, it would be inexcusable if I don't respond to it. Let me ask you, how many mystical beasts can you send at once? Qin Ruoga's laughter shook the sky. How many? Supreme Cloud. As long as you have mystical beasts, you can send at least 100 of them. Are you serious? Yun Yang asked. Qin Ruoga burst out laughing. Of course. I'm relieved to hear that, Sect Leader Qin, Yun Yang said. By the way, can we also bring mystical beasts into the fight when we fight with the people of other sects? His words were directed at Hua Yunfeng, who was on the high platform. Hua Yunfeng pondered for a moment and said, Beast Trainer sect is not the only exception to bring mystical beasts to assist in the fight. As long as a mystical beast is tamed, it will be part of the overall fighting strength of the sect. Naturally, we can bring mystical beasts into the fight. Yun Yang nodded and said, I see. Then there is no problem. Yu Changtai of the Green Darkness sect laughed and said, Since there are no more questions, Leader Yin, please send your mystical beasts into the arena. Win this match quickly, and end the fight between Residents of Nine Supremes and Beast Trainer sect. We, the Green Darkness sect, can't wait to fight Leader Yun's Residents of Nine Supremes. As soon as his words came out, the crowd burst into laughter. Win this match? Yu Zhangtai, you are obviously being sarcastic. Residence of Nine Supremes does not even have a mystical beast. You are about to admit defeat. Yun Yang's gaze flickered as he said coldly, I won't disappoint Sect Leader Yu. After saying that, he took out something from his bosom and placed it in his sleeve, gently stroking it, pretending to be mysterious. Qin Ruoga twitched his lips. However, the next moment, all the people, including Qin Ruogu and Hua Yunfeng, who were laughing heartily, suddenly froze in unison. His eyes instantly widened as if he had seen a ghost. Following Yin Yang's caress, a snow-white mystical beast leaped out from Yin Yang's sleeves. There really were Xian beasts. Everyone's eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. F***CKme. The sect leader of the Residents of Nine Supremes really had everything. You even created Xian beasts? Everyone could only feel their eyeballs popping out of their sockets. They could no longer contain their eyes then. Another snow-white thing jumped out. Another one. There was another one. The 4 snow-white mystical beasts landed on the ground one by one, circling Yin Yang's calf and meowing. They looked like 4 little pom-poms, very adorable. Qin Ruogu and the others' restless hearts were put back to their stomachs in an instant. Are these 4 cats? And they seem to be newborn kittens? It doesn't matter. Even if these cats are really Xian beasts, they are most likely just pets. Now that Yin Yang was forced to use them, he wanted to give it a try. Even if 10,000 of these little fellows come at me at the same time, it will still be useless. Our Xian beast is a whirlwind leopard. Although it's only a king, it's more than enough to deal with this battle. No matter how powerful a cat is, can it be more powerful than a leopard? Then, Yun Yang pointed at the battlefield and said, You 4, go and defeat that big guy. The crowd sneered at the same time. Have you gone mad from anxiety? Or are you dreaming? Are you counting on these 4 little cuties to defeat a king-level whirlwind leopard? However, What happened next caused everyone to widen their eyes in shock. One of the cats let out a soft meow and turned its head to look at the whirlwind leopard in the field. Following the first cat's actions, the other cats also turned their heads and stared at the field without blinking. It seemed that these 4 cats understood Yin Yang's words. That can't be. It must be a coincidence. If they did, they would run as fast as they can when they hear that their master is sending their brothers to die. However, the next moment, with a soft swoosh, a white shadow leaped into the air and flew toward the battlefield. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the white shadow grew larger and larger as it flew through the air. When it was about to land on the ground, it had grown into a ferocious and terrifying white beast, standing at least 80 feet tall. With a loud boom, it landed on the ground, raised its head, and let out a roar. The audience was thrown off their feet in an instant. Damn it! That's not a cat. It's a leopard. But what kind of leopard is it? Why does it look like an eclipse panther? That's not right. An eclipse panther can't be so huge. A whirlwind leopard? No, it's a whirlwind leopard. The difference can be seen with just one comparison. Or perhaps a leopard. It's even less likely that its appearance is different. Snow leopard. Or not. Since when could a snow leopard be so powerful? It's impossible. What kind of breed is it then? Before the crowd could even think about it, another white shadow flew over, growing larger and larger. Another one. And another one. 4 snow-white behemoths surrounded the whirlwind leopard in the middle. The ferocious whirlwind leopard that was initially baring its fangs and brandishing its claws was now like a little witch facing a great witch, curling up pitifully into a ball. Suppression of its size. Suppression of its level. Suppression of its combat power. The pitiful whirlwind leopard tried its best to curl its body into a ball. It let out pitiful cries as it begged for mercy. Its tail was tightly clamped between its hind legs. Its eyes were filled with a pitiful look. Oh my God! Didn't you tell me to come out and show off my prowess? Why did these 4 big fellows suddenly appear? I can't defeat any one of them. Any one of them can defeat 10 of them. And now 4 of them are surrounding me. How can you bully a leopard like this? The whirlwind leopard felt so wrong that it wanted to cry. Oh! The 4 whiteys howled together. Their ferocious eyes locked onto the whirlwind leopard at the same time. It's too scary. The whirlwind leopard knelt down with a thud. Spare me. There was no suspense. They didn't even need to fight. As a contestant, the whirlwind leopard was already scared to the point of wetting its pants. It seemed like it only had one more breath than a dead leopard. What was the point of fighting? Don't trample on the leopard. The spectator stands were filled with dull and lifeless gazes, as well as many dumbfounded faces. Chapter 1108. Qin Ruoga's lips were trembling. His face was ashen, and his eyes were rolling up, as if he could faint at any moment. Suddenly, he realized that it was not without reason that Yun Yang could seduce the Black Bear King. It turned out that he was really an expert in mystical beasts. With just these 4 mystical beasts, he had defeated 99% of the mystical beasts in Beast Trainer sect. Even if these 4 leopards could not defeat the Black Bear King, they could still put up a good fight. Not to mention Yun Yang himself. Even if the Black Bear King was willing to go all out, he might not be able to defeat them. Furthermore, while the 4 leopards that Yun Yang had summoned were rare and valuable, could anyone be sure that Yun Yang did not have any other tricks up his sleeves? What if he had other trump cards that he had not shown? At this moment, Qin Ruogu only wanted to say, "Big brother, why didn't you tell me earlier that you had such strength? If you had, I would have knelt down long ago. Now that I've completely offended residents of 9 Supremes, you've only shown part of your true strength. What do you want?" Before today, Beast Trainer sect was a prestigious sect with a lower grade and middle grade celestial luck banner. But in just one day, we've been defeated one after another. Our celestial luck banner's grade has dropped, and our divine beast is about to surrender to him. What's worse is that we've made such an invincible enemy for no reason. Does the heavens want to destroy Beast Trainer sect? Qin Ruogu subconsciously turned his eyes to the Black Bear King, hoping that he could give him some advice. To his surprise, the Black Bear King gave him a disdainful look, and then closed his eyes. Now you know how to be afraid. From the beginning, I've felt that this little brother Yin is the best friend of us mystical beasts. Look at what he's done. He's given me wine, food, and care. And he's been very kind to me even though he has such a strong fighting strength. He's 100 times better than all of you in Beast Trainer sect. You should all regret it. The corner of Yu Zhongtai's mouth, who was still clamoring just now, was twitching, and his face was pale and filled with despair. The people from the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd sects were all dumbfounded. Hua Yunfeng's mouth was wide open, and his jaw was almost dislocated. At this point, the endless trump cards of Residents of Nine Supremes had been deeply rooted in everyone's hearts and could not be erased. Residents of Nine Supremes wins. Hua Yunfeng spat out a few words with difficulty and swallowed. There was only one thought in his mind. It's such a powerful sect, and I've been betting on them to lose? What kind of moronic behavior was that? What a wastrel! He had squandered to the point where the sun and moon had lost their light. This was no longer losing money on purpose. It was emptying one's own pockets, borrowing money, and then kneeling in front of others to beg for their help. Moreover, it was the kind of squandering method where they would commit suicide if they did not accept it. I'm so stupid, Hua Yunfeng muttered. 5th battle forfeit admit defeat. When Qin Ruoga said that, all his spirit qi and spirit seemed to be sucked out at the same time, and he slumped down in his seat like a pile of mud. Everyone's complicated gazes were focused on Yun Yang. Yun Yang smiled gently and said, Lord Deacon, the Residents of Nine Supremes would like to continue the next round of challenge. In the next battle, we would like to challenge the 5th-ranked Green Darkness sect. Yu Zhongtai, the sect leader of the 5th-ranked Green Darkness sect, looked ashen. Alas, I really didn't know we could bring mystical beasts into the arena. Yun Yang was a little regretful. We almost lost a few times. If I had known we could bring mystical beasts into the arena, I wouldn't have let Yi Xing suffer so much, he smiled and said. From now on, we will not be careless anymore. We will bring mystical beasts into the arena in every battle, and we will show our opponents the greatest respect with our strongest strength. Yu Zhongtai covered his face with his hand. Don't respect me, okay? You can look down on me as much as you want. As long as you don't bring mystical beasts into the arena. What the F***ck? If you bring a Saint King level mystical beast into the arena, how are we going to fight? This beast trainer sect deserves to die. Who the F***ck asked you to mention this? Everyone's eyes were filled with resentment as they turned to look at beast trainer sect. At this moment, all the sects that had not been challenged looked at them, as if they wanted to eat them alive. If possible, they really wanted to eat these brainless fools from Beast Trainer sect one bite at a time. I'm so angry. You are clearly digging a pit for all of us to jump into. We didn't know we could bring mystical beasts at all. Hua Yunfeng's eyebrows twitched. Fine. Ding Byuk and Yu Bunning came up to him with heavy faces. Boss, let's have another bet and have some fun. Hua Yunfeng looked at them with grief and indignation in his eyes. Ding Byuk said, Beast Trainer sect has the help of mystical beasts, but they still can't beat the 5th-ranked Green Nether sect. I'm afraid Residents of Nine Supremes will not be able to continue. Let's still bet on Residents of Nine Supremes for this match. Let's have a little bet between us brothers. That's right, Yu Bunning said. Boss has lost so much, and we really can't bear it anymore. We'll continue to bet on Residents of Nine Supremes for this match, so that you can win back all your losses. Hua Yunfeng's face had turned as red as the bottom of a pot. In a trembling voice he said word by word, You guys want more? Boss, why are you still cursing people? Not only do I curse, but I also want to beat people up. The following challenges of the Residents of Nine Supremes suddenly became smooth sailing, as if the conditions were right and success was assured. After some discussion, Green Nether sect, which ranked 5th, quickly made a decision. Admit defeat. Yu Zhongtai's face darkened, and he looked like he was about to explode. The decision was undoubtedly very aggrieved, helpless, and humiliating. But he had no choice but to give in. Everyone in Green Nether sect wore a dark face, sighing and wringing their hands. The strength Residents of Nine Supremes had shown was already very strong, And if it was a real fair fight, Green Nether sect might not be its match. Although Green Nether sect's overall fighting strength was a little stronger than Beast Trainer sect, it was not much stronger. After watching Residents of Nine Supreme's previous matches, they did not have much chance of winning. But it was one thing to have little chance of winning, and another to fight for it with all their might. Basically, every sect that owned a celestial luck banner had a specialty that others could not match. For example, the Thousand Mountains sect dominated with the Tao of Formations, the beast-controlling sect had mystical beasts to assist them in battle, and the Green Nether sect relied on their speed. The so-called entering and exiting Green Nether sect and controlling swords was the fundamental cultivation technique that Green Nether sect relied on. In terms of speed alone, none of the sects with lower-class celestial luck banners could match it. If it were not for Beast Trainer sect, Green Nether sect might not have the strength to stop Residents of Nine Supremes from going further. But it was not impossible to stop Residents of Nine Supremes from continuing its challenge. Chapter 1109. As long as Qing Ming sect's disciples avoided direct confrontations and maximized their speed, there was a great chance that they could defeat any one of the top 10 disciples of Residents of Nine Supremes. Although Yin Xiuxin and the others possessed extraordinary strength, their actual combat experience was shallow. If they encountered an enemy and kept avoiding a head-on battle, it was almost certain that they would become impatient, and it was only reasonable that they would be defeated in the end. But now, Residents of Nine Supreme's combat force had the help of a Holy King mystical beast. How could they fight it? They were bound to lose. If they forced themselves to fight, they would only feel more aggrieved, helpless, and humiliated. If they admitted defeat now, they would be less humiliated. They could also avoid the embarrassing scene of being beaten black and blue before admitting defeat. Therefore, Residents of Nine Supremes climbed to the 5th place without shedding any blood, and continued to challenge Great Dragon Hall, which ranked 4th. After some discussion, Great Dragon Hall, which ranked 4th, also made the same choice as Qing Ming sect. They had to admit defeat. They had no choice but to admit defeat. Although Great Dragon Hall's strength was stronger, they still did not have the confidence to deal with Residents of Nine Supremes, which was assisted by a Holy King mystical beast. Although their ranking had fallen, it did not affect their grade. With Qing Ming sect as an example, even the feeling of aggrieved helplessness had faded a lot. At the right time, Residents of Nine Supremes began to sprint toward the top 3. There was not much suspense in what happened to the top 3 sections. First, 100 Flowers Tower, whose members were all women, admitted defeat. 100 Flowers Tower's martial arts, techniques, formations, and movement skills were excellent, enough to contend with Residents of Nine Supremes. However, the astonishing combat strength that Residents of Nine Supremes had shown earlier vaguely restrained 100 Flowers Tower. When they thought of the mystical beast's assistance, they simply gave up, and Residents of Nine Supremes fell to the 3rd place. Then, the Pavilion of Earth, who ranked 2nd, was the first sect to go head-on against the Residents of Nine Supremes after 3 sects forfeited and admitted defeat. It was a pity that they had either overestimated their defensive capabilities or underestimated the Residents of Nine Supremes' formidable combat power. 4 sects took turns to fight, and after a round of intense battles, they had lost 5 of their matches. Dejected, the Pavilion of Earth retreated to the 3rd place. Now, Residents of Nine Supremes only had Golden Cauldron sect, which ranked 1st among the lower-class celestial luck banners. At this moment, the Earth Pavilion, the 100 Flowers Tower, the Great Dragon Hall, the Green Nether sect, the Beast-controlling sect, the Illusory Sword sect, and the Thousand Mountains sect, whose ranks had dropped one by one, did not leave the battlefield. They were all watching from the sidelines. Only when the battle ended would the 5th heaven come to an end. The 7 sects watched as the seats of the Residents of Nine Supremes changed again and again, gradually climbing higher. From the moment he first entered, there were no seats, no spectator stands, all the way to the 2nd place. His momentum was still like a rainbow, and he never stopped advancing. Everyone's gaze was complicated and indescribable. Throughout the hundreds of thousands of years of history in the bound of universe, such a rapid rate of advancement had never been seen before. In the beginning, he had no reputation and was nothing at all. But now, he was fighting his way to first place. It was a marvelous sight to behold. In fact, from the moment residents of 9 Supremes climbed to the 6th place, it had already created a new record in the entire bound of universe. And they were still breaking and breaking this record again and again. The people of the Thousand Mountains sect sighed faintly. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have fought so desperately. Everything is in vain, and I will eventually become a laughingstock. Only when they saw the strength displayed now did they realize how ridiculous their initial thoughts and actions were. You want to stop the advancement of residents of 9 Supremes with your meager strength? Now Golden Cauldron sect was in the most awkward position. Currently, the Golden Cauldron sect was feeling extremely depressed. This big boss had been eagerly preparing for the battle, wanting to go one step further and challenge the middle-class Celestial Luck banner. He even thought that he was fully prepared and had submitted his application, and the 3rd level might already be waiting for him to challenge it. Once the process here was over, and the other sects went back to their own homes, it would be time for Golden Cauldron sect to create a new legend and write a dazzling brilliance. Whether they won or lost in the end, whether they succeeded or not, it would be a rare experience for Golden Cauldron sect in recent years, a legendary feat worthy of being recorded in the history of the martial world. Everything was within their expectations, but who would have thought that at the very last moment, a dark horse would jump out of nowhere and charge up to them like a hot knife through butter, wanting to compete with them for the first place of the lower-class Celestial Luck banner? In all fairness, Golden Cauldron sect no longer valued the position of the chief disciple of the lower-class Celestial Luck banner. They already had a higher goal, and they even had the strength to achieve it. Naturally, they had no desire to linger on the past. But the problem now was that if they lost the first place, they would be qualified to go up there. How could they go one step further? It was no longer a matter of qualification, but a matter of face. They were all prepared and waiting for them to challenge them, but they chose not to go and were defeated by another sect that ranked lower than them. Wasn't this the most unimaginable thing in the world? If this turned out to be true, Golden Cauldron sect would definitely become the biggest joke in the bound of universe. Enough to make countless cultivators laugh for 1,000 years. We must fight. Not only must we fight, but we must win. The leader of Golden Cauldron sect, Wei Tao, was an extremely ugly man. His arms were thin, his legs were thin, his face was thin, and his mouth was thin. However, there was a big belly that was trembling on the outside. His head was shining with a golden light, but there was not a single hair on it. In other words, the so-called baldness. The rest of the people from Golden Cauldron sect wore a solemn expression. They had to fight, of course. But the problem was, how could they fight? How could they have a chance of winning? In terms of individual combat strength, Golden Cauldron sect had the intention to ascend to a middle-class Celestial Luck banner sect. Their overall combat strength was not something that other lower-class Celestial Luck banner sects could compare with. They had 3 second-tier Saint Kings, one of whom had reached the pinnacle of second-tier Saint King. The reputation of the Golden Cauldron 3 elders was well known even among many middle-class Celestial Luck banner sections. If it was a one-on-one fight, the 3 of them were confident that they could take down the representative of residents of 9 Supremes. Even the so-called number 1 expert, Luo Dajiang, was no exception. But now, that damned beast trainer sect had played a crooked trick at the last minute, trying to take advantage of the situation. Instead, they had dug their own grave. Not only were they defeated, but they had also given their opponent a killing weapon that was even more detestable than a cheat. How could they fight against 4 Saint King-level mystical beasts? The truth was obvious. Before the battle with Beast Trainer sect, they did not know that mystical beasts could participate in the battle, or perhaps, they did not even think about it. Otherwise, the battle would not have been so brutal. Damn Beast Trainer sect. Genius 1 second to remember website. Mobile version. Chapter 11:10. In fact, this kind of situation would not occur in other sections. Apart from sects like the beast-controlling sect, that specialized in taming and training mystical beasts, other sects would not even consider releasing mystical beasts to assist in battle. Not every sect had mystical beasts that were well-trained and in sync with their masters. However, this rule did not apply to the residents of Nine Supremes at all. Each of the 4 Saint King-level mystical beasts in the residence of Nine Supremes was extremely intelligent, obedient, and perceptive. This had already been proven in the battle with Beast Trainer sect, so there was no question that they could not be controlled. Therefore, after going up against Beast Trainer sect's shameless tactics, the combat power of the residents of Nine Supremes had skyrocketed to a height that was daunting and even despairing. In the 5 battles with the Pavilion of Earth just now, there was a Saint King mystical beast accompanying them in each battle. The sturdy defense that the Pavilion of Earth was famous for was not enough. Now, this powerful enemy with a skyrocketing strength had come before them again. It was really difficult to deal with it. What was the difference between a martial artist and a mystical beast? For example, if a martial artist had reached the level of a first-grade Saint King, and a mystical beast was also at the level of a first-grade Saint King, then, even if 5 first-grade Saint King martial artists gathered, they would probably only be able to defeat 1 first-grade Saint King mystical beast. This was an innate gap that could not be made up for by ordinary martial techniques or secret arts. For example, it was very easy for a mystical beast to enlarge its body, because its body was already so big, and its strength was already so strong. It was also possible to make a martial artist enlarge his body in an instant. But not only could it not last long, it would also consume a large amount of mystical chi. The martial artist would probably be beaten back to his original size after a short fight with the mystical beast. This was also reasonable. How could the strength of an ordinary person be compared to the strength of an ordinary bear? If it could be compared, then the human would not be called a human, but a human bear. If it was just the Xian beasts, the Golden Cauldron sect would still be in a difficult position. However, they would not feel too hopeless. After all, the 4 Xian beasts had stopped at the peak of the first-grade Saint King. Compared to the second-grade Saint King on their side, they were more or less on par. If they were to try their luck, they might be able to win. However, whether it was Luo Dajiang or the other people from residence of Nine Supremes, each of them had the cultivation base of a Saint King. They might not be able to fight one-on-one, but they were more than enough to distract and interfere from the side. With their first-tier Saint King strength, it was enough for the 3 Golden Cauldron elders to suffer just by hiding behind the mystical beasts and launching sneak attacks. No matter how you attacked, the huge profound beast in front of him would be able to easily block it, and wouldn't be able to hurt him at all. But on the other hand, as long as he successfully ambushed them once, they would have to pay a considerable price. There was still no chance of winning the Battle of Formations. The stunning performance of residents of Nine Supremes in the battle against Thousand Mountains sect had already completely awed all the sects with lower-class celestial luck banners, making them invincible. Thinking deeper, the Battle of Formations was a group battle. Would residents of Nine Supremes directly send 4 mystical beasts to assist them? Forget about the Battle of Formations. The mere thought of it was terrifying. There was no need to even think about it. There was no need to think about the Battle of Disciples. The disciples from residents of Nine Supremes would definitely bring their mystical beasts with them. With the cultivation base of their disciples, it would be a great fortune if they were not killed by the opponent's mystical beasts. The Battle of the Sect Leaders? The Battle of the Pinnacle? The Battle of the Backbone? The Battle of Free Will? Which battle did they have the confidence to win? The people from Golden Cauldron sect thought about it, and realized sadly that as long as the factor of mystical beasts assisting them was taken into account, the chances of winning would become very slim. Damn Beast Trainer sect. Wei Tao's head was 3 times bigger now. How could our Golden Cauldron sect, the top disciple of lower-class celestial luck banners, suddenly fall into such a difficult situation? Unable to advance or retreat, and unable to continue? They had great strength. but they were forced to death by 4 mystical beasts. Hua Yinfeng, who was standing on the high platform, looked a little numb. How could residents of 9 Supremes be so monstrous? I thought it was already commendable that you could fight your way to the 7th or 8th place. But I didn't expect you to soar all the way to the top. The leaders of Golden Cauldron Sect and residents of 9 Supremes, please come up to the platform to discuss the battle. When Hua Yinfeng said this, he still had a subtle feeling that he was dreaming. I'm an idiot. When a sect that can compete for the first place is fighting with other sects that are not even in the top 3, I actually bet on them losing 3 times in a row. I even have to be the banker, bet with Supreme Grade Spiritual Jade, and even increase the odds. Is there anyone more stupid than me in this world? I'm not completely bankrupt because of this. I seem to have some luck. Wei Tao's face darkened as he said, Lord Attendant, it's getting late now. Why don't we fight tomorrow? The crowd burst into an uproar. Incredulous eyes were fixed on him. It's getting late. What was going on? Why did he say that it was already dark? However, Golden Cauldron Sect had taken the initiative to ask for a postponement. This was the Golden Cauldron Sect that ranked first with the lower-class Celestial Luck banner. How could they not have the confidence to face residents of 9 Supremes, who had just charged up to them? It was absurd, but it was realistic. Hua Yinfeng nodded in agreement. He did not think Golden Cauldron Sect's decision was absurd at all. It was realistic. If it were him, he would have to fight for a night to come up with a countermeasure in the face of such a tough challenge. How is it absurd? Therefore they called a truce for the day. Although the reason was high-sounding, everyone understood that Golden Cauldron Sect was stalling because they had no other choice. Everyone in Golden Cauldron Sect felt ashamed. The high platform where the attendant was located was in the middle, while Golden Cauldron Sect and residents of 9 Supremes were on the left and right respectively. Both sides could see each other's faces clearly. Residents of 9 Supremes was overjoyed and full of vigor, while Golden Cauldron Sect was lifeless. Perhaps their positions would be swapped tomorrow. This was residents of 9 Supremes' goal, but it was also the outcome that Golden Cauldron Sect was most unwilling to see. There's no need to deploy when we fight Golden Cauldron Sect tomorrow. It doesn't matter. We have a trump card in our hands, so victory is assured. Yin Yang said loudly, have a good rest tonight. Everyone has worked hard. Tomorrow, we'll deal with whatever comes our way. Shi Wuchen and the others answered loudly, while the disciples' voices were clear and crisp. Yes, Master. We're invincible. The phrase, we're invincible, had almost become the mantra of residents of 9 Supremes' disciples, and they had probably forgotten the true meaning of the phrase. Wei Tao and the others were so angry that they fell backward. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.